Chapter 807. Little doctor, I often have a stomachache. Can you touch it for me, little doctor? Can you help me take a look at the nodules in my breast? Can you help me feel them, little doctor? I often have dysmenorrhea. Can you touch it for me? Encountering this kind of miracle doctor who could cure diseases with just a touch, a group of beautiful big models kept shouting. In the crowd, Qin Haodong's nose and mouth were full of all kinds of perfumes. Qin Haodong was speechless. This is called massage, okay? How did it become a touch? Besides, shouldn't I touch you? Why are people always touching me? Are they treating me or taking advantage of me? The scene was in chaos. The male model whose leg had just been broken saw Qin Haodong surrounded by the crowd and his eyes were full of envy. Any one of the models present was a world-class model. Perhaps only this young doctor could be surrounded by these proud and arrogant women and be chased after by them. But he did have real skills. He could cure diseases with a casual touch and a massage. While he was sighing, he suddenly saw a group of men in black rushing in from outside, led by Jared who had just left. Oh no, Jared is here again. The male model with the broken leg shouted and then ran backstage. He didn't want to break his leg that had just been reattached again. When the others heard the shout, they immediately stopped and stepped back. Although they wanted to cure the disease, they had just experienced how terrible the Jared family was. They didn't want to be beaten again. Everyone retreated to the sides. In the blink of an eye, only Qin Haodong and Shi Yumi were left on the wide T-stage. With a cigar in his hand, Jared walked under the T-stage with a proud face. He looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Boy, keep hiding if you can. I'm telling you, this is my place. I'll find you even if you hide in a mouse hole." As he spoke, he stepped onto the T-stage. "Boy, I'm telling you, because of you two, I was blackmailed $30 million on the plane. Now those bastards have been arrested, but I can't get the money back. This loss must be blamed on you." It turned out that the robbers on the plane had accomplices outside. The money was transferred only a few minutes after it was transferred to the account. Although the Jared family had great power here, and although the police tried their best, they still could not recover the money. Gerard was annoyed that he had lost more than 30 million at once, so he blamed Qin Haodong for it. Qin Haodong glanced at the bearded man and said coldly, "You really don't know what's good for you. If I hadn't helped you on the plane, you might have been killed by the robbers. How dare you ask me for money? Cut the crap. I knew it. If it weren't for you two bitches, I wouldn't have said that there was $30 million in my card. In short, you have to compensate for today's loss." Shi Yumi said, "We can't come up with so much money in a short time. I'll give you $10 million first, and we'll pay the rest later, okay?" At this moment, the long-legged model who was standing at the side walked over and said, "I can help you pay $1 million. Just take it as my consultation fee." The tall woman also came over and said, "Yes, we can pay it back if we pool our money together. I'll pay $500,000. I'll pay $300,000. I'll pay $800,000. These people were either grateful for Qin Haodong's help just now or wanted to ask him for help to treat the disease. They all ran out to pool their money. In the blink of an eye, almost $30 million had been raised. Qin Haodong smiled gratefully at these people and said, "Thank you, but I don't need your help. I can solve it myself." Seeing that $30 million was almost raised, Gerard's expression relaxed a lot. Seeing that Qin Haodong had refused these people, he suddenly said with a cold face, "Boy, do you have $30 million yourself?" Qin Haodong sneered and said, $30 million is nothing at all. I even have $300 million. But why should I give it to you? Boy, it seems that you're new here. You don't know the power of our Gerard family in City N at all. If you can't pay the money today, I'll sell you and this little devil together." Gerard's words were extremely arrogant. Although he had seen Qin Haodong fight on the plane, he had brought the elite bodyguards of his family today, who could not be compared to those robbers. Besides, country was not like Wuxia. His bodyguards each had a gun. Even if Qin Haodong's skills were powerful, could he be more powerful than a gun? So he did not take the young man in front of him seriously at all. But before he finished speaking, a huge foot appeared in his pupils, and then he was kicked in the face, which was still holding a cigar. Qin Haodong did not want to talk nonsense with this guy. He kicked him off the tea stage. He did not show any mercy. Not only did he kick Gerard 7 or 8 meters away, but he also broke half of his teeth. Gerard fell under the tea stage with a plop, and he almost fainted. Seeing that their master was beaten, the 2 bodyguards next to him rushed over and helped him up. Gerard spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he pointed to Qin Haodong on the stage and shouted, "Beat him. Beat him hard for me. Break all his bones for me." He was so angry that no one had ever dared to beat the young master of the Gerard family. In a place like City N of M country, the Gerard family was so powerful that they could even kill a Wuxia man. It was not a big deal at all. As soon as he gave the order, more than a dozen bodyguards rushed to the tea stage. Looking at the fierce expressions of these people, the models next to them could not help screaming. Some of them could not even bear to see the next scene and covered their eyes with their hands. These bodyguards of the Gerard family were either excellent boxers from the underground boxing world or retired special forces. They were all tall and strong, and they did not take Qin Haodong, who was thin, seriously at all. But when they rushed to the tea stage, they were kicked out one by one before they could figure out what was going on. More than a dozen people came up, but they did not even touch the corner of Qin Haodong's clothes. Gerard was furious and shouted to the bodyguards behind him, "Are you all fools? Hurry up and use your guns to turn him into a sieve." These bodyguards also saw Qin Haodong's power and took out the pistols at their waists. They had met kung fu masters over the years, but what could they do? In the end, they were all killed by their guns. These people took out their pistols and were about to shoot Qin Haodong without hesitation, but they suddenly found that the figure in front of them had disappeared. What's going on? Where did he go? Before these bodyguards could figure out what was going on, they felt that their hands were light and the guns in their hands disappeared. As a saint-level master, how could Qin Haodong give these ordinary bodyguards a chance to shoot? In the blink of an eye, he had taken all the guns in their hands and thrown them into the trash can next to him. Devil! He is a devil. With this skill, the bodyguards of the Gerard family retreated with fear in their eyes, as if they had seen a ghost. Qin Haodong glanced at them and said coldly, "Kneel down if you don't want to die." In the face of his powerful momentum, these people all knelt on the ground at the same time. 2 bodyguards boldly wanted to run, but before they could run a few steps, they fell to the ground with a plop. It was unknown whether they were alive or dead. The models on the stage saw all this and opened their mouths in surprise. My God, is he really God? Qin Haodong stepped in front of Gerard. At this time, the young master of the Gerard family was trembling with fear, and his body emitted a pungent smell of urine. Smelly. Smelly. Looking at the young man in front of him, he trembled and said, I'm sorry, I don't want the 30 million. Qin Haodong kicked him to the ground and said coldly, "We have to settle accounts, but I have to settle accounts with you first. You took people to smash things here and hurt my girlfriend. How do you want to settle accounts with me?" Gerard shouted fiercely, "Don't go too far. I am the young master of the Gerard family. You can't survive in N City if you offend our family." Before he could finish, Qin Haodong kicked him in the face again. "Don't scare me with your shabby family. Even if your father is the president of M country, you can't do it, let alone the *T Jared family." Gerard was completely defeated by the young man in front of him. If this went on, he was afraid that he would be beaten to death before his family came to support him. He said tremblingly, "I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it, okay? That's a good attitude. Qin Haodong turned to Shi Yumi and said, how much money do we need to pay for our losses in total? The people on the stage were all stunned. No one had expected that the arrogant young Master Gerard would be beaten like a dog. Shi Yumi came to her senses, calculated briefly and said, our clothes and props are all used for the fashion week. The price is very high. It adds up to about $300,000. Qin Haodong said to Gerard, did you hear that? $30 million, not a penny less. Gerard was dizzy from the beating and he was even more confused at this time. I clearly heard that it was $300,000. Why did it suddenly increase by 100 times? Qin Haodong said, $300,000 is just the cost of these clothes. You've hurt so many people. Don't you need to pay for the medical expenses? Besides, my friend is of noble status, so the medical expenses will naturally be calculated separately. You just slapped her twice, and each slap is worth $10 million. Gerard said with great grievance, I didn't hit her. If you didn't hit her, it must be your men who did it. This must be counted on you. $30 million. Do you want to pay by credit card or cash? Gerard was about to collapse. The compensation was a little too damn expensive. $10 million for one slap, and more than 100 million yuan for 2 slaps. But at this time, he didn't even dare to fart. He could only say pitifully, I can pay for the money, but my original 30 million has been cheated by the robber. I really don't have that much money. It doesn't matter if you don't have money. Isn't your Gerard family very powerful? Go back and get the money. Qin Haodong said, I'll wait for you here. You must send me $30 million within 2 hours. Gerard was delighted. He didn't know if this guy was crazy. He dared to let him go back to get the money. When he called the masters in his family, he would definitely chop this guy into pieces. Although he thought so, he didn't dare to show it on his face. He hurriedly said, don't worry. I'll definitely send the money within 2 hours. After saying that, he ran out of the venue with his people in fear. Chapter 808. After these people left, there was a burst of cheers in the venue. They surrounded Qin Haodong again. Handsome young man, how did you do it just now? Is this the legendary Wuxia Kung Fu? You're so handsome, handsome. Do you have a girlfriend now? Can you consider me? Handsome, take me as your girlfriend. I'm willing to give birth to many children for you. These women surrounded Qin Haodong and cheered. From time to time, some of them threw themselves at him and gave him a kiss. In the blink of an eye, his face was covered with colorful marks. Lip marks. In contrast, the tall woman was more rational. She shouted to the crowd, don't make trouble. It's not settled yet. It could be seen that she was very prestigious among the crowd. After she shouted, everyone immediately quieted down. The tall woman said to Qin Haodong, Mr. Qin, you don't know how terrible the Jared family is. Although your Wuxia Kung Fu is amazing, you still can't compete with the entire Jared family. I guess Jared didn't go back to get the money, but to call for help. Hurry up and leave with Shi Yumi. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave when their people come. Hearing her words, the others also came to their senses and said, yes, you should leave now. Now that you've beaten the heir of the Jared family, it's not a matter that can be solved with money. Run away, handsome. I heard that there are also many very powerful people in the Jared family. It'll be troublesome if they come. Qin Haodong took the towel from Shi Yumi and wiped the lip marks on his face. Then he said to the crowd, don't worry. The Jared family won't make trouble for you. On the contrary, they'll send you $30 million. Everyone looked at each other and didn't know where this young man's confidence came from. They knew how terrible the Jared family was. How could they lower their heads? Qin Haodong said, I'm going to make a phone call now. Then he walked to a corner, took out his mobile phone and dialed Jean Woody's number. Jean Woody lost to Qin Haodong on Tianzhu Peak of Kunlun Mountain. Although it caused a great sensation overseas, with his cultivation at the middle stage of the Saint Realm, no one dared to challenge his position. Especially in the Qin gang, he still held the position of Grand Elder. Although he was not the gang leader, he was the most powerful person in the Qin gang. He was meditating and cultivating in the quiet room when his phone rang. Jean Woody could not help frowning. Generally speaking, his disciples did not dare to disturb him when he was cultivating, unless there was something particularly important. He grabbed the phone and saw the caller ID on the screen. His expression changed and he said respectfully, "Master, what can I do for you?" The master-servant contract directly locked his soul. No matter how high his status was, even though he was the Grand Elder of the Qin gang, he was still extremely respectful to Qin Haodong. "Do you know the Jared family in City N of M country?" Jean Woody thought for a moment and said, "Master, I remember now. There is such a family in M country, but it's not worth mentioning in the whole West. It can only be regarded as a small family." The current Qin gang was a giant existence in the entire Western underground world. They rarely paid attention to a small family like the Jared family. He asked again, "Master, did this family offend you? Do you need me to get someone to destroy them?" Qin Haodong said, "They did make some trouble for me, but I don't need to destroy them. I just need to give them a warning. They owe me $30 million now. Ask them to send it to me immediately." The main purpose of his visit to City N was to find the nest of Angel Pharmaceutical. He did not want to make too much noise. "Master, don't worry. I'll ask the head of the Jared family to confess to you and send the money to you right away." Jean Woody hung up the phone. He did not have the contact information of the Jared family, so he directly called his eldest disciple, Tong Taisheng, the leader of the Qin gang, in and asked him to handle the matter. Moreover, he repeatedly urged that this matter must be handled properly. Although Tong Taisheng did not understand why Jean Woody suddenly helped Qin Haodong, he did not dare to be careless about what his teacher had asked him to do. He immediately called old Jared, the head of the Jared family. At this time, old Jared looked at his son, who had been beaten into a pig's head in front of him. In City N, someone dared to hit his son. It was simply courting death. "You said that the guy is waiting in Lincoln Center now, and he wants you to send him $30 million. Jared said, "Yes, father. That guy is too arrogant. He doesn't take our Jared family seriously at all. You must avenge me and teach him a lesson." A cold light flashed in old Jared's eyes. He ordered the butler, "Take all the masters of the family and let's go to Lincoln Center. I don't believe that this Wuxia man can go against us." As one of the big families in City N, his family naturally had some hidden power, but they rarely showed it. But at this moment, the cell phone in his pocket rang. Old Jared was originally angry. He did not know who was calling at this time. He took out his cell phone and was about to lose his temper, but when he saw the phone number on the screen, he immediately became very respectful. "Respected gang leader Tong, why did you think of calling me? Do you have any orders?" Although his family was very powerful in City N of M country, it could not be compared with the Qin gang, which dominated the whole Western world. As long as the leader on the other side of the phone was unhappy, he could destroy his family with a flick of his fingers. Tong Taisheng said, "Take $300 million to Lincoln Center right now and sincerely apologize to Mr. Qin. If you can't get Mr. Qin's forgiveness, your family will no longer exist." Tong Taisheng was really not interested in saying a word to such a small family. He hung up the phone directly after telling his teacher what to do. He was not worried about whether the Jared family could carry out his orders. As long as old Jared was not crazy, he would not dare to fight against the Qin gang. Old Jared was dumbfounded after answering the phone. Who on earth was this Wuxia man? How could he make the leader of the Qin gang call him directly and increase the compensation of $30 million by 10 times? Seeing that his father was stunned after answering the phone, Jared could not wait any longer. He stepped forward and said, "Father, everyone is here. Let's go now. We must chop that guy into pieces." "I'll chop you first, you bastard." Gerard Sr. raised his hand and slapped Gerard's face hard. How could he not know by now that his disappointing son had provoked a powerful enemy for him? Jared was slapped to the ground. He covered his swollen cheek and said with an aggrieved expression, "Father, why did you hit me?" Old Jared waved his hand to the butler next to him and said, "Tie this bastard up and bring a check of $300 million. Let's go and apologize to Mr. Cheen." This time, not only Jared, but also his men next to him were dumbfounded. It seemed that the family head had never come to apologize in person as far as they could remember. "What the hell are you waiting for? Didn't you hear me?" Old Jared was furious when he saw his men standing there like wooden blocks. He slapped the butler again. He was full of anger because he had provoked the Cheen gang for no reason. "Got it, master." The butler hurriedly agreed and asked the bodyguard next to him to tie Gerard up. Then, he wrote a check for $300 million and followed old Gerard to Lincoln Center. After the call, Cheen Haodong returned to the center of the tea stage. Shi Yumi hesitated for a moment and said worriedly, "Haodong, why don't you go out and hide for a while?" The long-legged sister also said, "Yes, handsome boy, you are not from country, so you don't know how powerful the Jared family is. They are too powerful. You really can't fight against them alone." Cheen Haodong glanced at the warm-hearted long-legged sister. She was 180 meters tall, with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had big breasts, a slim waist, and long legs. She was indeed a rare Western beauty. "Beautiful woman," he said jokingly. "Beauty, how old are you? Do you have a boyfriend? You still have the mood to joke at a time like this." The long-legged sister was about to say something when her expression suddenly changed. She saw a group of people rushing in from the outside, led by old Jared. After entering the door, old Jared glanced at the stage. He didn't know Cheen Haodong, so he asked, "I'm Jared, the elder of the Jared family. Which one is Mr. Cheen?" As the leader of a big family, old Jared was naturally imposing, which made the people on the stage even more nervous. Cheen Haodong took a step forward and said lightly, "That's me. Did you bring the money?" As soon as he said that, the tall woman and the others behind him suddenly became nervous. What was wrong with this guy? Couldn't he see that a disaster was coming? How dare he ask for money at this time? But what surprised them was that after hearing Cheen Haodong's identity, old Jared actually plopped down on his knees in front of him and said, "Mr. Cheen, I'm really sorry. I didn't teach my son well. Please let our family go." For him now, $300 million was not a big deal at all. What mattered was Tong Tisheng's threat just now. If the man in front of him was not satisfied, then his family would come to an end. As the saying goes, a man should be flexible. For the survival of his family, Jared gave himself such a reason and then lowered his head and knelt down. This time, not only were the people on the stage surprised, but even the people of the Jared family were shocked. They didn't understand who this young man was and how could he scare the patriarch like this. Cheen Haodong was not interested in these things. He said to old Jared, "Didn't you understand what I said? Did you bring the money?" "I brought the money, and I also brought my unfilial son. Mr. Cheen, you can do whatever you want to him." After saying that, old Jared waved his hand behind him. The housekeeper hurriedly handed the check of $300 million to Cheen Haodong, and then 2 bodyguards carried Jared over. Only then did everyone find that Jared, who had just been beaten by Cheen Haodong, was now firmly tied up. Cheen Haodong took the check in his hand, casually flicked it, and then handed it to Shi Yumi behind him. Then he said to old Jared, "All right, you seem to have a good attitude. That's it. Take your son away and don't let me see him again." "Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Cheen. I will discipline this unfilial son well when I go back. I will never let you see him again. Seeing that he had survived, old Jared breathed a sigh of relief. He turned around and was about to leave with his men. Wait a minute. Qin Haodong stopped them again. Old Jared, who had just been relieved, suddenly became nervous again. Would this man go back on his word again? He turned around and said with a flattering face, Mr. Qin, what else can I do for you? Chapter 809. Qin Haodong said, my friend and I just arrived in M country, and we don't have a suitable car yet. No problem, Mr. Qin. What kind of car do you like? I'll send someone to buy one right away. Old Jared immediately agreed. He had spent $300 million, so he didn't care about 2 cars. There's no need for that. Just leave 2 of the cars in your fleet for me. Qin Haodong thought new cars were too troublesome, so he asked old Jared for 2. Then I have a Rolls-Royce Phantom and a Range Rover. Mr. Qin, you can drive them first. If you're not satisfied, I'll change them for you. Then old Jared waved his hand, and 2 bodyguards immediately brought the car keys in their hands. He held them in front of Qin Haodong with both hands. All right, I'll take them. They're just vehicles anyway. Qin Haodong took the car keys, threw the Rolls-Royce to Shiyumi, and kept the Range Rover for himself. He waved his hand to old Jared and said, okay, you can go now. Old Jared felt as if he had been pardoned. He immediately ran out of Lincoln Center with his men. After going out, he asked someone to let go of Jared. Jared stretched his stiff limbs and couldn't help asking, Father, what's going on? Why did we apologize to that guy? And why did $30 million become $300 million? How dare you ask? It's all your fault. Let me tell you, even if Qin Haodong wanted to kill you today, I wouldn't dare to stop him. Be careful in the future. You can't afford to provoke such a person. Jared was shocked and asked in astonishment, Father, he's just a guy from Wuxia. Although he has some kung fu, our family doesn't have to be afraid of him, does it? Old Jared said, we're not afraid of him alone, but do you know who's behind him? It's the Qin gang. The call just now was from Tong Taisheng, the leader of the Qin gang. It can be seen how high this guy's position in the Qin gang is. Can we afford to provoke him? Tong Taisheng made it very clear that if we can't satisfy Qin Haodong just now, our whole family will cease to exist in the future. Hearing that Qin Haodong was from the Qin gang, Gerard was so scared that he couldn't help shrinking his neck. He didn't expect that this Wuxia man had such a powerful background. If he had known it earlier, he wouldn't have dared to compete with Qin Haodong for a woman. Old Jared said to his men, I'm telling you, no one is allowed to provoke Qin Haodong in the future. Even if they take your wives away, you have to endure it. Otherwise, I'll blow your head off immediately. Do you hear me? Got it. These people spoke in unison. What a joke. Even the patriarch couldn't afford to offend such an existence, so who among them would dare to find trouble with him? Wouldn't they be tired of living? In the venue, Qin Haodong said to Shiyumi, take this money and make up for everyone's loss. You can use the rest. Shiyumi quickly said, how can I use so much money? $10 million is enough. I'll transfer the rest to you. Qin Haodong said casually, well, you can do whatever you want with it. Talk to me when you run out of money. All the beauties next to them were dumbfounded. The young man in Wuxia in front of them was handsome, young and rich. He had such a powerful background and was so generous to women. Was there a better man in the world than him? After a short silence, these women went completely crazy. They were either world-famous designers or world-famous models. They surrounded Qin Haodong like a swarm of bees. Handsome boy, do you have a girlfriend? Why don't we make friends? Handsome boy, I'm proficient in yoga and ballet. I can unlock any posture. Handsome boy, my breasts are 36D. How about you let me be your girlfriend? Faced with such enthusiasm, Qin Haodong couldn't bear it. He quickly pushed the crowd away and ran to the corner. At this time, the foreign horse stepped forward to help. Well, don't you see that he's Yumi's girl? Everyone, hurry up and get to work. Hearing her words, all the women sighed regretfully and began to busy themselves with their own matters. Seeing that all the others had left, the foreign horse came to Qin Haodong's side. Her big golden eyes kept flashing and she said in a charming voice, "Dear Qin, my name is Jennifer. Can I invite you to have dinner with me?" Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "I'm sorry, Miss Jennifer. I'm not used to Western food." Hearing his refusal, Jennifer did not step back. Instead, she took 2 steps forward. Although there was still a little distance between them, her amazing breasts were already pressed against Qin Haodong's arm, and the wonderful touch was instantly transmitted to him. "Mr. Qin, you may not like Western food, but your brother may not have eaten Western food yet, has he? If you don't mind, I can satisfy any of your requirements." Qin Haodong couldn't stand Jennifer's boldness and straightforwardness. He was thinking about how to refuse when the cell phone in his pocket rang. "Sorry, Miss Jennifer. I have to answer the phone." Qin Haodong took out his cell phone and saw that it was Huang Xiaoxian. He realized that there might be some changes over there, so he immediately pressed the answer button. Sure enough, as soon as the phone was connected, he heard Huang Xiaoxian's voice saying in a hurry, "Brother Qin, something happened. Mr. Gao Mingqing was suddenly kidnapped during lunch." Qin Haodong said, "What the hell is going on? Tell me slowly." Huang Xiaoxian said, "You asked me to keep an eye on Mr. Gao Mingqing, so I stayed in front of his clinic. I followed him when he was having lunch at noon. But before Mr. Gao walked into the restaurant next to him, a Mercedes-Benz business car suddenly rushed over. 2 black men jumped out of the car and directly grabbed the old man, then they drove away." "What's the license plate of the business car?" Huang Xiaoxian said, "It's a silver-gray Mercedes-Benz business car. There's no license plate on the car." "Well, I see." Qin Haodong hung up the phone. As soon as he put down the phone, Jennifer leaned over again and said, "Mr. Qin, I think you should consider my suggestion. In fact, I'm a bachelor. I don't care if you have a girlfriend or not. I can accept it if we have a threesome. Sorry, I have to go now." Qin Haodong couldn't stand the enthusiasm of the foreign woman. He ran out of Lincoln Center in a hurry. He had guessed that the people of Angel Pharmaceutical would probably do something to Gao Mingqing, so he left a divine sense mark on Gao Mingqing. He didn't expect that something would happen so soon. It was noon and he was in the center of N City. Naturally, he couldn't fly on his sword. He could only take out the car key and get in the Range Rover left by old Jared. He followed the direction of the divine sense mark and drove to the west of N City. His driving skills were very good. The Range Rover was like a fast-moving big fish, driving forward quickly in the sea of cars and getting closer and closer to the divine sense mark. Soon he came to the edge of N City. The Mercedes-Benz business car in front of him continued to drive out of the city and to the peripheral mountains. M country's population density was far less than that of Wuxia, and there were even fewer people outside the city. Qin Haodong found a place where there was no one and parked the Range Rover on the side of the road. Then he got out of the car and jumped into the air, chasing after the Mercedes-Benz business car in front of him. His purpose was to find the base of Angel Pharmaceutical, so he didn't rush to approach it but just followed it from a distance. The Mercedes-Benz carrying Gao Mingqing seemed to be afraid that someone was following it. It circled around several times in the vicinity. After making sure that there were no cars behind it, it got off the road and drove along the path into the mountains. Soon it came to a big mountain. There was no road ahead. At this moment, the mountain wall in front of him suddenly split open on both sides, revealing a cave about 10 meters wide and 7 or 8 meters high. The Mercedes-Benz drove into the cave, and the mountain wall soon closed again. From the outside, it looked very well hidden, as if nothing had happened. Qin Haodong landed on a big tree on the opposite side, thinking that the base of Angel Pharmaceutical was really well hidden. If he hadn't come up with such a way, it would have been difficult for him to find it. He didn't rush to take action. Since Gao Mingqing had been caught here, it would take some time for him to meet up with Sun Fengqing, Huang Mingzhi, and the others. If he attacked too early, it would be easy to alert the enemy. He waited outside for more than half an hour. Calculating that it was almost time, he jumped down from the tree and strode to the mountain wall. The gate of this hidden base was made of fine steel, with a thick layer of stone walls hanging outside. The defense was extremely strong. Even if ordinary people found it, they couldn't break in. But Qin Haodong was not an ordinary person. With a loud shout, the Xian Yuan sword in his hand turned into a sharp light and fiercely cut at the stone wall of the cave. With a loud bang, no matter how strong the stone wall was, it couldn't withstand the blow of a saint. It was still split into pieces, revealing the true appearance of the cave. Qin Haodong strode into the cave with the Xian Yuan sword in his hand. He didn't think too much about this underground base. Since he had absolute strength, he could directly attack it. After the gate was smashed, a harsh alarm immediately sounded in the cave. Qin Haodong had just taken a dozen steps when more than 20 men in black with all kinds of guns rushed out. Qin Haodong raised the Xian Yuan sword in his hand and shouted at these people, "Put down your guns, and I'll spare your lives." The men in black were stunned. Wasn't this supposed to be their line? Why was it taken away by this man in front of them? They didn't understand where the man in front of them got his courage from. Although the sword in his hand looked very dazzling, the guns in their hands were the most advanced. Cold weapons couldn't compete with them. Fire! As the leader of the men in black gave the order, the gunman behind him immediately pulled the trigger. The dense bullets turned into flames and shot at Qin Haodong. In their opinion, there was no suspense in this battle. But when they put down the trigger, they found that there was no one in front of them. Then a golden light flashed in front of them and instantly cut their throats. These gunmen were all trained by Angel Pharmaceutical. They were the pawns of the alien demons. Qin Haodong naturally wouldn't show any mercy to these people. He killed them all with a sword and then walked inside with the Xian Yuan sword again. After a short distance, more than a dozen gunmen rushed out. Qin Haodong raised the Xian Yuan sword again and said, "Put down your guns and I won't kill you." The result was the same as before. After a burst of gunshots, more than a dozen gunmen in black fell in a pool of blood. Qin Haodong held the big sword in his hand and continued to move into the base majestically. In a secret room, a white man in his 70s was staring at the big screen in front of him with a grim expression. He was Klinsmann, the president of Angel Pharmaceutical. Next to him stood a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was his assistant, Mora. Seeing Qin Haodong's murderous look, Mora exclaimed, "Boss, it's Qin Haodong. How did he find our underground base?" Chapter 8:10. Bastard, we haven't gone to him yet. How dare he come to us? Klinsmann grabbed a bottle of red wine on the table and smashed it on the ground. With a crack, the wine, which was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, splashed all over the ground. Mora cried, "Boss, he has already rushed in. What should we do now?" Klinsmann roared crazily, "Kill him. We must kill him no matter what. It took us a lot of effort to catch these Chinese medicine practitioners. We can't let him ruin our plan." Mora grabbed a walkie-talkie on the table and shouted into it, "Zamorano, the boss orders you to kill Qin Haodong." On the other side of the walkie-talkie, a frightened voice cried, "Boss, but that man's strength is too terrifying. He's not a human being, but a devil." Klinsmann grabbed the walkie-talkie and shouted crazily, "I don't care. Anyway, one of you must die. If he doesn't die, you will." "Got it, boss." In the underground base, Zamorano, who was pale, put down the walkie-talkie in his hand and shouted to the gunman behind him, "Get out of here. The boss said that we must kill that guy today, or we will all die." After entering the base, Qin Haodong had been violently cracking all the way. He killed the gunman who rushed out with his sword and cut open the closed door with his sword. Occasionally, the underground base would use some bombs. But Qin Haodong could always leave one step earlier with the help of his primordial spirit. Every time he exploded, when the bomb exploded, he was already 100 meters away, so the people who were injured could only be his own people in the base. Mora looked at the big screen and said to Klinsmann, "Boss, Qin Haodong's strength is too terrifying. It's beyond our imagination. The people in the base can't stop him at all." At this time, Klinsmann also noticed this. He recovered from his rage and sighed, "Fortunately, he didn't find us. Otherwise, it would be really difficult." Mora said, "What should we do? Why don't we apply to the organization and ask them to send experts to kill him?" Klinsmann said, "I've already applied to the organization after Dr. Jin's died, but they said that it's not the time yet. They told us not to provoke this guy for the time being." Mora said, "But if we let this guy stay in City N all the time, he will be a huge threat to us. Maybe he will come to us one day." Klinsmann thought for a moment and said, "For the time being, we don't have a master who can match him, but we have money. Post a mission on the dark web immediately and find someone to kill him." Mora said, "Boss, will this work? With his cultivation, it seems that ordinary assassins can't deal with him." Klinsmann said, "It's best if we can find an assassin to kill him. If not, he can't stay in City N and go back to Wuxia as soon as possible. Don't let him affect our plan." Mora nodded and then asked, "What about the base?" Klinsmann gritted his teeth and said, "It's a newly built base. Let's just throw it away. Cut off all contact with them. Don't let that guy find us." Mora answered and turned around to do his work. In a secret room of the base, a gunman in black ran in a panic and said to Zamorano, "Boss, this guy is too powerful. Our people can't stop him at all. He's about to rush here." Zamorano also saw all this from the big screen. He gritted his teeth. It seemed that it was impossible to kill Qin Haodong. "Hurry up and take some people to lead him to the other side so that we can safely transfer these people. If we can take these people away, the boss may spare us." "Okay, boss, I'm going now." The gunman in black turned around and ran out, but it didn't take long for him to run back. "Boss, we've tried many ways, but this guy just won't follow us. It seems that he knows where the people are." Zamorano shouted, "Did you leave any evidence when you arrested them just now? Or did he install some tracking device on the old man?" The gunman in black said, "That's impossible. Every time we catch a person, we will scan them and remove all the tracking devices. We didn't find anything on this old man." Zamorano's face turned pale as he watched his men being killed by Qin Haodong one after another on the screen. Now there were only him and the gunman in black left in the whole underground base. The gunman in black said, "Boss, how about we surrender?" Zamorano said, "Surrender? Don't you know how powerful the organization is? If we surrender, we will definitely die." The gunman in black said, "Boss, we will be chased by the organization in the future. As long as we can survive and find a place to hide, the organization may not be able to find us. If we don't surrender, we will be killed by this man immediately. No, I will never surrender." While Zamorano was talking, the steel anti-theft door was suddenly kicked open from the outside. Qin Haodong walked in with the Xian Yuan sword in his hand, full of killing intent. "Mr. Qin, don't kill me. I surrender." Before the gunman in black could react, Zamorano had already knelt on the ground and raised his hands high. The gunman in black was stunned. This change was too fast. Qin Haodong had just said that he would never surrender, but in the blink of an eye, he had knelt down faster than himself. However, he had no time to think about this now. His life was more important. He quickly knelt on the ground and raised his hands. Qin Haodong glanced at the two of them and said coldly, "If you want to live, let him go." Although he could kill his way over with his own abilities, it would be very troublesome if the other party were to engage in a life and death struggle and come up with a hostage situation. "Let him go now. I'll let him go now." Cassiano reached out and pressed a red button on the wall. The wall behind him slowly opened. It turned out that his secret room was the entrance to the center of the underground base. The two men led the way and took Qin Haodong in. This was a large laboratory with a width of nearly 1,000 square meters. In the laboratory, nearly 100 old Chinese medicine doctors were busy, including Sun Fengqing and Sun Bowie. "Dr. Qin, you're finally here." After seeing Qin Haodong, Sun Bowie immediately rushed over, took his hand and said, "I knew you would come to save us. I've been waiting for this day." Sun Fengqing was also very excited. He said with tears in his eyes, "Little Qin, I thought I would never see you again. It doesn't matter if I die, but I want to die in Wuxia. I don't want to stay in a foreign country." Qin Haodong said, "It's all right now. I'm here to save you." Hearing that this young man was here to save them, the old Chinese medicine doctors in the laboratory were so excited that they burst into tears. They were caught here and thought that they would never be able to escape. They didn't expect to see the light of day again. Qin Haodong comforted them and said, "Don't worry. I'll take you away after I ask you a few questions." Then he pulled Zamorano aside and asked, "Is this the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical?" He had just looked around. This place didn't look like the lair of Angel Pharmaceutical, but more like a laboratory. Zamorano hurriedly said, "This is not the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical. It's just an underground experimental base that has just been built." Hearing that this was indeed not the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical, Qin Haodong felt a flash of disappointment in his heart. They were really well hidden. He had spent so much effort, but he still couldn't find them. He directly used mind manipulating and asked, "What's your position? Do you know where the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical is?" Zamorano said, "I'm just a small leader of Angel Pharmaceutical. I'm in charge of the experimental base here. I don't know where the headquarters of the company is." "How can you not know? Could it be that you've never been there?" Zamorano said, "When this underground base was set up, the boss met me once. But at that time, I was also blindfolded and was not allowed to bring any electronic equipment. So I don't know where the headquarters is, but according to the distance, it should be in N City." Qin Haodong frowned. They were so careful with their own people. No wonder the Xianyuan Pavilion had not found the headquarters of Angel Company so far. He asked again, "Why did you set up this experimental base? Why did you kidnap so many traditional Chinese medicine practitioners?" Zamorano said, "After the failure of the zombie virus last time, the senior management of the company realized the importance of traditional Chinese medicine, so now every virus developed will be sent to me. I asked these traditional Chinese medicine practitioners to experiment with traditional Chinese medicine. I lied to them that whoever could develop a traditional Chinese medicine to kill the virus would be released and given a large reward." Qin Haodong asked, "What's your purpose in doing this?" Zamorano said, "The boss said that it's to make money. Only when the incurable virus is spread can our company's antidote be sold at a sky-high price." Qin Haodong said angrily, "Don't tell me that you set up a pharmaceutical company to make money, not to cure diseases and save people." Zamorano said in fear and trepidation, "I don't know. That's what the boss told me. Anyway, he asked me to catch these traditional Chinese medicine practitioners to do experiments." Qin Haodong asked some more questions, but Zamorano knew nothing about the core secrets of Angel Pharmaceutical and the alien demons. There was no special tattoo on his body. It seemed that he was indeed just a small leader. Since he was an insignificant figure, Qin Haodong ignored him. It was estimated that the pursuit of the Angel Company was enough to make these two people suffer. He left the underground base with Sun Fengqing, Sun Bowie, and the other old traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. After everyone left, he threw 2 talismans into the base. With a loud bang, the whole underground base became a sea of fire. He did not choose to call the police, because it would be useless for the police to come, and they would ask a lot of questions, which would cause him a lot of trouble. The best way was to deal with it directly. However, it was also troublesome to bring these people back together. In the end, he took these people out of the mountain area, then called Huang Shaoxian and sent his location to her. Then, he asked her to hire 3 buses from the city to come here. These old traditional Chinese medicine practitioners came from all over the world, including Chinatown and Huaxiao. After thanking Qin Haodong profusely, they all got on the buses and left. Huang Shaoxian did not leave with the buses. Instead, she took her master Huang Mingzhi, Sun Bowie, and Sun Fengqing to Qin Haodong's Land Rover. After returning to the city, Huang Mingzhi and Huang Shaoxian held a banquet to thank Qin Haodong for saving their lives. After this incident, Sun Fengqing and Sun Bowie did not want to stay in M country anymore, so they directly flew back to Huaxiao. It was already late at night when everything was settled. Qin Haodong drove back to Shiyumi's apartment. Chapter 8:11. When Qin Haodong entered the room, the lights were on. Shiyumi was standing in front of the window in a pink nightdress, looking at the night view outside the window with her arms crossed. He didn't know what she was thinking and didn't even notice him entering the room. Under the light, the combination of Shiyumi's fair skin and the pink of her nightdress was visually attractive. She had delicate cheeks, perfect curves, and outstanding temperament. As a woman, no one could find any flaws in her. Qin Haodong said, "What are you thinking about?" "Oh. You're back." Hearing Qin Haodong's voice, Shiyumi immediately turned around, threw herself at him happily, and held his arm affectionately. "What did you do in such a hurry today? If you hadn't left alone, I would have thought that you went on a date with a famous model." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "A friend of mine came to see me." He didn't tell her the truth but just found a random reason to fool her. Shiyumi didn't care about it. She took Qin Haodong's arm and blushed. "Thank you for saving me today. If you hadn't shown up in time, I wouldn't have known what to do. I might really have to pack up and go back to China." Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have provoked Jared, so it's my duty to help you." Shiyumi gave him a charming smile. "No matter what, I should thank you. Including the time in Huaxia, you've saved me twice. How can I thank you? Don't you want to repay me with your body?" As she spoke, she looked at Qin Haodong with her big beautiful eyes. Even a person who didn't know how to flirt could see the affection in her eyes. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I told you, it's nothing. It's nothing. You don't have to take it to heart." Shiyumi said, "But I really didn't expect that you have such a strong connection in M country. Even the Jared family has yielded to you. I have a friend who has some influence in M country. He called old Jared. Your friend is really amazing. He just made a phone call and got 10 times the compensation." Shiyumi said, "I left 10 million of the $300 million for everyone. The rest has been transferred to your card. Is 10 million enough? Why don't you leave more? 10 million is already very generous. In terms of material losses, it's only about $300,000. The rest is used to compensate the colleagues who were beaten up." Qin Haodong nodded and stopped talking about money. He asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes," Shiyumi looked up at him and said, "But I want you to go out for a drink with me." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's not suitable for a girl like you to go there." "Is there something wrong?" "No, I've long heard that the bars in M country are very fun, but I don't have a boyfriend to accompany me. I don't dare to go alone, so I want you to accompany me." Shiyumi raised a finger and said, "Just once. I just want to go there and have a look." Qin Haodong said, well, I'll go with you. That's great, thank you. Shi Yumi pecked Qin Haodong on the cheek. Then, she ran back to change her clothes and left the house with Qin Haodong. Not far from their apartment, there was a bar called Blue Tone. The two of them walked in arm. As soon as they stepped into the bar, they heard the wild music coming from inside. The whole air was filled with a wild atmosphere. In the bar, countless men and women were crazily twisting their bodies on the dance floor. Unlike the bars in Wuxia, this bar almost included people of all skin colors on the earth. Whether they were black, white or yellow, they were all releasing their inner passion. Under the colorful neon lights, a tattooed girl with only a pair of underwear was holding a steel pipe in the middle of the dance floor, twisting her body like a snake. Qin Haodong had no interest in this kind of woman. He just glanced at her and then pulled Shi Yumi to the bar counter. Behind the bar counter, a bartender with a flowing Mohican hairstyle was playing with a bottle of wine in his hand, making continuous acrobatic movements. Qin Haodong and Shi Yumi sat down, and the bartender said, "What would you like to drink?" Shi Yumi said, "2 glasses of flaming lips." "Please wait a moment. It'll be ready soon." Flaming lips was a kind of cocktail. After saying that, the bartender began to make it skillfully. Qin Haodong asked, "Why do you want to drink this kind of wine?" Shi Yumi turned around and looked at him with blurred eyes under the neon lights. She said, "I've seen this kind of wine in a magazine. It said that red can make people think of fire, blood, and the sun. It can also make people enjoy passion and stir up the hidden fire in people's hearts. So I want a glass of it. Hello, is the wine ready?" The bartender's movements were extremely skillful. Soon, 2 glasses of extremely beautiful cocktails were placed in front of them. Shi Yumi picked up the glass and took a sip. After tasting it, she said, "It tastes good." At this time, a man with holes all over his body came over and said to Shi Yumi, "Miss, may I have the honor to dance with you?" Shi Yumi turned around and smiled at him. "Sorry, my man doesn't like me to dance with others." Dong Dong faked a smile and turned around to look for other prey. An Oriental woman with outstanding appearance and elegant temperament like Shi Yumi was undoubtedly a dazzling light in the bar. Although Qin Haodong was by her side, 3 or 4 men still came over to strike up a conversation with her in a short time. After the 2 of them drank a glass of wine, a charming blush appeared on Shi Yumi's fair and tender cheeks. "See? So many people have invited me to dance. Don't you have any thoughts?" Qin Haodong said, "What thoughts do you want me to have?" "Of course it's the thoughts a man should have." Seeing that Qin Haodong's eyes were still clear, a trace of disappointment flashed across Shi Yumi's eyes. "Am I not charming enough, or do you like Western food? Let me tell you, in fact, my breasts are no smaller than those Western women." As she spoke, she stuck out her full chest and pressed it tightly against Qin Haodong's arm. Qin Haodong was embarrassed. It seemed that she had overheard his conversation with the foreign woman during the day. "I didn't mean that. You are very charming and charming." Shi Yumi's delicate red lips came close to his ear and said, "Then tell me, do you like me or not?" Qin Haodong said, "You are such a beautiful woman. You are beautiful and elegant. If I say I don't like you, it would be a lie. But we haven't known each other for a long time, and I just like you, not to the extent of love. And I've already told you that I have many girlfriends." "You're lying. If you don't love me, why did you hand over $300 million to me? Do you know how much money it is? Aren't you afraid that I'll run away with it?" Qin Haodong said, "In my eyes, money is always just a bunch of numbers. It can't be compared with human feelings. Even our friendship is more precious than $300 million. In fact, you didn't run away with the money." Shi Yumi said with a chagrined face, "Are you so stubborn? Is it so difficult for you to accept me? I've already said that I don't care about your girlfriend. What else do you want from me?" Qin Haodong said, but I do care. You're so unromantic. I won't talk to you anymore. Shi Yumi snorted and turned her head away, like an angry wife. At this time, a young man in a white shirt with a mustache came over and said to Shi Yumi in a gentlemanly manner, "Beautiful lady, can I have a dance with you?" Shi Yumi originally wanted to refuse, but she glanced at Qin Haodong, who was indifferent next to her, and said angrily, "Okay." After that, she followed the mustache man to the dance floor. But as soon as she came in, she regretted it. The bar was dim, so she didn't think there was anything special here. But as soon as she got closer, she found that the dancers here were all tightly pressed together. Many of them were touching each other while dancing, which made her blush. But since she was already here, she couldn't just leave her alone. She could only hope that the mustache man was as gentlemanly as he was and wouldn't do anything too excessive. As if he could see that Shi Yumi was nervous, the mustache man said, "Don't be nervous. We're all here to have fun, aren't we?" Shi Yumi bit her lip and nodded slightly. Then, she began to dance with the mustache man. At first, the mustache man behaved well, but as time went by, the hand that was holding her slender waist began to move down slowly. Later, he put his hand on her buttocks and pinched her. Ah! Shi Yumi let out a scream and turned around to run away. But the mustache man grabbed her hand and put his arm around her waist. He refused to let go at all, and his hairy mouth also came close to her. "Bastard, let go of me." Shi Yumi put one hand on the mustache man's chest and struggled desperately. But this kind of thing was very common in the bar, and the music was very loud, so the people around didn't pay much attention to it. Sitting at the bar, Qin Haodong saw all this clearly. He couldn't help shaking his head and stepping toward the dance floor. Seeing Qin Haodong approaching, the mustache man seemed to relax a little and let go of Shi Yumi's hand. But just as Shi Yumi breathed a sigh of relief and was about to turn around and leave, the mustache man suddenly took out a pistol from his back and pointed the black muzzle at Qin Haodong from under Shi Yumi's armpit. His movement was very secret and ingenious. With Shi Yumi as a cover, no one could even see him draw the gun. But Shi Yumi saw it clearly. Her beautiful face suddenly turned pale. Seeing that the mustache man was about to pull the trigger, she hurriedly shouted, "Haodong, watch out." Then, she twisted her body and directly blocked the muzzle of the mustache man's gun. It seemed to be a silencer. With a puff, the bullet went into Shi Yumi's body. The mustache man was startled. He didn't expect that Shi Yumi would use her body to protect Qin Haodong. Just as he raised the pistol and was about to shoot again, a big hand had already grabbed his neck and twisted his cervical vertebra with a crack. Although the bar was in a mess, Qin Haodong's spirit saw everything clearly, including Shi Yumi blocking the bullet for him. After killing the mustache man, he held the limp Shi Yumi in his arms and asked nervously, "How are you?" Shi Yumi put on a sad but beautiful smile and said, "I'm fine. I'm willing to die for you. Don't talk nonsense. I'm here. You won't die." Qin Haodong said as he held her in his arms and walked out of the bar. At this time, the guests in the bar also found that someone was dead. They screamed and retreated to both sides. Among the crowd, another black man raised his pistol at Qin Haodong. Chapter 8:12. The black man was originally a killer team with the mustache man. The two of them had always cooperated tacitly and had always been successful. But this time, before he could make a move, the mustache man's neck was broken. His partner was killed, but the black man did not panic too much. With his years of experience, he hid in the crowd and secretly raised his pistol at Qin Haodong. But before he could pull the trigger, a silver light suddenly flashed in front of his eyes, and then he lost consciousness. Qin Haodong killed the black man with a silver needle. He did not stop at all. He took Shi Yumi out of the bar and rushed to their apartment at top speed. After entering the door, he gently put Shiyumi on the bed and casually tore off her shirt that was already stained with blood. Shiyumi was still conscious, and Qin Haodong had stopped her bleeding in time, so she was not too affected. Seeing that her shirt was torn off, her originally pale face flushed red, and she reached out to cover her chest. "Don't move. Let me take out the bullet for you," Qin Haodong said as he scanned the bullet in Shiyumi's body with his divine sense. He was slightly stunned. The bullet had been shot into the left side of her chest, but it did not hurt her heart and lungs. It was a blessing in misfortune. He asked Shiyumi to sit cross-legged and reached out to pat her on the corresponding position of her chest. With a snap, the bullet ejected from the wound and bounced on the opposite wall. After taking out the bullet, Qin Haodong carefully treated her wound. Then, he applied the ointment and covered her with a blanket. "Okay, it's all right." Shiyumi moved her arm and found that the painful wound was no longer painful. Except for a little itch on the spot where the ointment had been applied, she couldn't even feel that she had just been injured. She said in surprise, "You've cured it so quickly." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You're very lucky. The bullet didn't hurt your heart or lungs, so it's very easy to treat. Your medical skills are really amazing. If I had been sent to the hospital, I'm afraid it would have taken me a long time to save her." Qin Haodong said, "It was too dangerous today. You didn't have to do this at all. Remember, don't do such stupid things again. These killers can't hurt me at all." After his cultivation reached the Saint Realm, it was difficult for him to be hurt unless it was a weapon of mass destruction. Shiyumi said with a red face, "I didn't think so much at that time. When I saw him suddenly shooting at you, I subconsciously blocked him." Qin Haodong took her hand and said, "No matter what, I have to thank you." Shiyumi threw herself into his arms and sobbed, "I thought I was going to die just now. In fact, it doesn't matter if I die. Anyway, I have no one to rely on and no family, but I'm afraid of losing you." As she threw herself, the blanket slipped, and her smooth upper body was completely exposed in the air. Qin Haodong reached out and patted her on the back. "Don't worry. As long as I'm here, you can't die even if you want to. But be careful in the future. Don't do such a stupid thing again. I'll protect you from everything. I don't care. In any case, you must have me today. Otherwise, if you die a virgin, you will definitely be laughed at." As Shiyumi spoke, she pushed Qin Haodong onto the bed and kissed him fiercely. After a long time, she raised her head shyly, but her hands kept unbuttoning Qin Haodong's clothes. At this time, she was lying on Qin Haodong's body. When she raised her head, her breasts were exposed to Qin Haodong's sight. Looking at the couple in front of him at such a close distance, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel aroused. But he still suppressed the fire in his heart, looked away, and said, "Don't move. You've just been injured. Otherwise, it will aggravate your injury and leave a scar. Every woman loved to look beautiful." Hearing that her body would be left with a scar, Shiyumi immediately stopped. Qin Haodong quickly pulled over the blanket and covered her body. Although she stopped, Shiyumi still said angrily, "Am I not attractive to you? If you hadn't had so many girlfriends, would have suspected that there was something wrong with you. Why would there be anything wrong with me? It's just that it's really not the right time." Qin Haodong changed the topic and said, "Why did I suddenly meet a killer when I went to a bar?" Hearing the mustache, Shiyumi's attention was immediately diverted. She said with lingering fear, "Is that man a killer? It's terrible. Is someone trying to kill you? He must be a killer, and he came for me, but I don't know the situation yet." Qin Haodong said, "You take a rest first. I'll make a phone call." He asked Shiyumi to lie on the bed, then covered her with the quilt and turned to walk to another room. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Donnie Randall's number, but no one answered. He couldn't help frowning. What was going on? If the two killers were directly sent by Angel Pharmaceutical or the Jared family, it would be understandable. But if they were found through the deep web, and Donnie Randall didn't answer his phone, then there must be a problem. Just then, his cell phone rang again. It was a call from Donnie Randall. "Cheen, I just went to take a shower. Why did you call me at this time?" Donnie Randall's voice was still sweet and even a little coquettish. "Oh." Cheen Haodong said, "I just met two killers in the Blue Tone bar." As soon as he said that, Donnie Randall asked with concern, "How did this happen? Are you hurt?" Although it was a phone call, Cheen Haodong could still clearly feel that her concern was completely sincere. The doubt that had just arisen in his mind suddenly disappeared. "I'm fine. Help me find out where these two killers came from." "Wait a moment," Donnie Randall said as she turned on the computer. After checking the web page, she said, "I was just taking a shower for a while. Someone posted a bounty on the deep web to kill you. The bounty is $100 million. Now more than a dozen killers have accepted this task." Cheen Haodong asked, "Do you know who did it?" Donnie Randall used her authority to inquire about the employer and said, "I don't know who did it, but the money came from Angel Pharmaceutical." Cheen Haodong nodded. It was really them. He had just destroyed their underground experimental base, and these people immediately hired killers to retaliate against him. However, it could also be seen from this that the alien demon had not planned to take action yet. Donnie Randall said, "Do you want me to help you cancel this assassination task?" "Not now." Cheen Haodong said, "It's not necessary for the time being. It won't be of much use, and it will also let them know the relationship between us. These killers could only cause some trouble for him, but they could not cause any substantial threat at all." Donnie Randall was now one of his trump cards, and he would definitely not expose it unless it was absolutely necessary. "Well, I'll let you know if there's anything important." Donnie Randall was still a little worried and said, "The most powerful of these killers is called the Thousand-Faced Enchantress. Since she started to be a killer, she has never failed and her success rate is 100%. Moreover, her identity is extremely secretive. Everyone only knows that she is a woman, but no one knows her true face, because every time she assassinates someone, she will appear in a different image. Moreover, this woman is very good at martial arts, and it's impossible to guard against her assassination. She is definitely a dangerous target. You must be careful." "I see." Cheen Haodong hung up the phone. When he returned to his room, he found that Shi Yumi had already fallen asleep. He simply washed up and went back to his room to rest. The next morning, Shi Yumi had recovered from her injury and seemed to be in good spirits. She also got up early to cook breakfast for Cheen Haodong. During the meal, she said to Cheen Haodong, "I need your help with something." "Go ahead, as long as I can help you," Cheen Haodong said while eating the steak. "You said it. Don't go back on your word." Shi Yumi smiled slyly and said, "The male model whose leg was broken yesterday is one of the best models I signed. Originally, I designed a set of men's clothes for him, and he is very likely to win the award of this fashion week. But now he is injured and time is running out. I can't find a suitable model, and I don't want my meticulous design to go to waste, so I want you to help me replace that male model." Hearing that he was going to be a model, Cheen Haodong quickly put down his chopsticks and said, "No, absolutely not." Shi Yumi said with a pitiful look, "But you just said that you would help me." "I did say that I would help you, but I have to do what I can. I've never been a model before. You'll be lucky if you don't make a fool of yourself, let alone win an award. I can't help you at all. I think you can definitely do it," Shi Yumi said as she approached Cheen Haodong. She stretched out two white and tender fingers to lift his chin and said, "You're so handsome and have a good figure. It's a pity that you don't become a model. The theme of this fashion week is nature. The clothes I designed also highlight the natural and refined temperament. You have the best temperament I've ever seen. You're 10 times better than that male model. You're the most suitable candidate." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Don't make things difficult for me. I've never been a model, and I don't know how to walk on the runway. It doesn't matter. I can teach you. I think with your talent, you'll definitely learn it soon. Didn't you say that the fashion week is going to start today? There's no time at all." Shi Yumi said, "There's still time. The fashion week will start in the evening. We still have one day. With an excellent teacher like me and an excellent student like you, I'm sure you can learn it." Well, Qin Haodong was still a little hesitant. He was a doctor and didn't like to show his face on the runway. "You promise to help me. You can't go back on your word," Shi Yumi said as she hugged Qin Haodong's arm. Her bulging chest kept rubbing against it. She was only wearing a nightdress, and half of her snow-white and towering curves were exposed. Her movements made her even more attractive. Okay, I give up. I promise you, okay." Qin Haodong had no choice but to sign an unfair contract. "I knew you would definitely help me," Shi Yumi said as she simply tidied up the room and used it as a runway. Then she took out the suit and put it on Qin Haodong. The two of them began to practice in the room. Qin Haodong had his spirit. After watching the videos of other male models walking twice, he had almost mastered the essentials of the runway. After that, under Shi Yumi's guidance, the two of them walked back and forth in the room and gradually got into a good state. It only took them one morning to completely master the essentials of the runway. Shi Yumi excitedly kissed him on the cheek and said, "I told you that you're the best." Chapter 8:13. After lunch, Shi Yumi took Qin Haodong to Lincoln Center for the final rehearsal. To his surprise, the female model with him turned out to be the long-legged sister. "Qin, I'm really glad to see you again, and I'm even happier to be your partner." The long-legged sister came over and gave Qin Haodong a big hug. Although he didn't reach out to touch her, he could still feel the fullness and elasticity of her breasts. He couldn't help but sigh secretly. He really didn't know how these foreign women grew up. They were more than 1.8 meters tall, and their breasts were so magnificent. "Qin, my name is Katia. Let's get started." After that, the two of them began to rehearse. After a short run-in, the two of them quickly formed a tacit understanding. Shi Yumi was very satisfied to see the state of the two of them. There were still a lot of things to do before the start of the competition. She left Qin Haodong to train here and turned around to do something else. During the break, Katia took Qin Haodong to a corner backstage. "Qin, you are the most outstanding man I've ever seen. You have good medical skills, good martial arts, and so rich. You're even so outstanding on the runway. You're really excellent." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I think so too. Can you let me be your girlfriend? I really like you. In your Wuxia language, it's called love at first sight. I've fallen in love with you since we met yesterday, and I can't help it." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Miss Katia, thank you for your favor, but I already have a girlfriend." "It doesn't matter. Many successful people in M country have many girlfriends. I don't care." After that, the long-legged sister directly held Qin Haodong in her arms and kissed him unscrupulously. She was 1.80 meters tall, about the same height as Qin Haodong. Coupled with a pair of 10-centimeter high heels, she seemed to be condescending when she kissed him. They were kissing passionately, but suddenly Katia's expression changed and she looked at Qin Haodong in horror. Qin Haodong looked at her with a smile. "How about it? Are you a little surprised? I really don't understand why you killers don't have brains. You've seen my skills yesterday, but you still dared to assassinate me. In the words of our Wuxia people, this is called risking your life to earn money. Do you think you can succeed with your little tricks?" As he spoke, he grabbed Katia's hand that was behind his back, and it was holding a shiny scalpel. A hint of panic flashed through Katia's eyes. This kind of knife was made of special steel and was extremely sharp. Usually, it would not have any difficulty cutting into the human body. She had concealed everything very well before. She wanted to use the scalpel as the last blow and directly pierce Qin Haodong's back. Unfortunately, she did not expect that the scalpel could not pierce through Qin Haodong's protective genuine qi. Katia begged, "Qin, please let me go this time. I won't dare to do it again. There's an old saying in Wuxia that the more beautiful a woman is, the less trustworthy she is. Do you think I can believe you?" Qin Haodong reached out and patted her cheek. "Tell me, are you the thousand-faced enchantress?" Katia put on a pitiful expression. "No, I'm really not the thousand-faced temptress. I'm just a regular assassin who was greedy when I saw the reward of $100 million. You can do whatever you want, but let me be your slave. You can be my slave, but please don't kill me, okay? You're a beautiful woman, but why do you have to be a thief? You're good as a model and you're not short of money. Why do you have to be a killer?" Qin Haodong stared into Katia's eyes and said, "I really don't know whether you're a professional killer and an amateur model, or a professional killer and an amateur model. But all of this is not important. Since you want to kill, you should be prepared to be killed." After that, he raised his hand and pointed at Katia's heart. The greenwood genuine qi had already broken her heart meridians. Katia's long legs went limp and she fell to the ground with a plop. In order not to affect Shiyumi's competition, Qin Haodong had to put on a full show. He picked up Katia and hurried into the infirmary next door. "Doctor, please take a look." She suddenly fell down. The doctor hurriedly carried Katia into the ambulance. After a round of rescue, it was determined that Katia was overly nervous before the competition and eventually died of a sudden myocardial infarction. Katia's death made the atmosphere before the competition even heavier, but soon Shiyumi replaced another model with Qin Haodong's partner. At 9:00 in the evening, the first show of the fashion week officially began. Qin Haodong walked onto the runway in the men's suit carefully made by Shiyumi. After entering the early stage of the nascent soul realm, he had already mastered the way of nature. His whole person had become one with nature, and his temperament was completely in line with this set of men's clothes. In addition, he was quite handsome. Along the way, the rich ladies and ladies under the stage kept screaming, asking about his personal information. Although it was the first time he walked on the runway, the performance was undoubtedly a success. After getting off the stage, Shiyumi happily rushed over, hugged Qin Haodong's neck, and kissed him hard on the cheek. "Haodong, your performance was really outstanding. I really love you." She took Qin Haodong's hand and went to the exclusive fitting room next door. "To celebrate our success, let's have a good toast." Shiyumi picked up the prepared red wine and poured a glass for Qin Haodong and herself. "Honey, come on, let's have a toast." As she spoke, she raised the red wine glass in her hand, gently clinked it with Qin Haodong's, and then drank it up. Qin Haodong glanced at her and drank up the wine in his hand. Shiyumi said, "How is it? The wine tastes good, doesn't it?" "It's really good. The red wine with the intestine-severing powder is really different." Qin Haodong stared at Shiyumi and said with a teasing look, "If you add some Crane's Crown red wine, it will taste even better." She didn't expect that Qin Haodong would see through the poison in the wine. Shiyumi's expression changed drastically. A shiny dagger in her right hand shot out and quickly stabbed at Qin Haodong's throat. Although this woman had never cultivated internal strength, her speed had already reached the level of an internal strength warrior. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely be killed with one blow. But this kind of cultivation was nothing in front of a saint. Qin Haodong only stretched out 2 fingers and tightly clamped the dagger in Shiyumi's hand. Shiyumi's expression changed slightly. She immediately gave up the dagger and took out 2 short knives again. She quickly stabbed at Qin Haodong's lower abdomen. "You won't give up until you see the coffin. Qin Haodong raised his leg. Before the two daggers could stab into his lower abdomen, his foot had already kicked Shi Yumi in the chest. Like a cannonball, Shi Yumi hit the wall behind her with a thud and then fell hard to the ground. The two short knives also flew out. She spat out a mouthful of blood. Knowing that things were not good, she bounced up from the ground and ran out of the door. Before she could run a few steps, a big hand grabbed her neck and pressed her against the wall behind her. Thousand-faced enchantress, right? Qin Haodong said as he let go of her neck and raised his hand to poke the Shanzhong acupoint on her chest. Thousand-faced enchantress cried out in horror, how did you know? She had been a killer all her life and had never failed. This time, she disguised herself as Shi Yumi and thought that she was flawless. She didn't know how the man in front of her saw through her. Qin Haodong looked at her and said with a smile, you have 3 flaws in total. First, although you look no different from Shi Yumi, you don't have her charm. Others may not be able to see through it, but I can see through it at a glance. Second, you haven't figured out the relationship between us. Although we live and eat together, we are just ordinary friends. She has never called me darling, which is a fatal mistake for a killer. Speaking of this, he glanced at thousand-faced enchantress's chest again. Although your fake breasts are about the same size as Shi Yumi's, you used too many fake materials, so they don't look elastic at all. If you have a chance to be a killer in the future, remember not to dress up as a woman with bigger breasts than you. But it doesn't matter anymore, because you will never have the chance to be a killer again. As he spoke, Qin Haodong reached out and wiped thousand-faced enchantress's face. The mask was taken off, and then an ugly face was revealed. Under the mask, thousand-faced enchantress's face was not only full of freckles and pockmarks, but also had a long scar on the left side of her face, which was really disgusting. I was worried that I wouldn't have the heart to kill her, but it seems that it's unnecessary. After saying that, Qin Haodong smashed thousand-faced enchantress's heart meridian with his palm, and directly dragged her to the bathroom of the dressing room. He took out the body-melting powder to melt her body, and then washed it with water. After doing all this, he went back outside, opened the door of the wardrobe next to him, and rescued Shi Yumi from it. At this time, Shi Yumi had been drugged and was already in a deep coma. Qin Haodong patted her a few times and used greenwood genuine qi to melt the drug away. Shi Yumi slowly opened her eyes and saw Qin Haodong in front of her. She asked in confusion, what's going on? Why did I suddenly fall asleep? Is the fashion week over? How was your performance? Qin Haodong said, a killer came just now. She drugged you and disguised herself as you to assassinate me. What? Another killer came? Shi Yumi looked at Qin Haodong nervously and said, how are you? Are you all right? Qin Haodong helped her tidy up her messy clothes and said, don't worry, I'm fine. Shi Yumi breathed a sigh of relief and said, what about the killer? Should we call the police? No need. The killer has already run away. It's useless to call the police. We can only rely on ourselves to solve this kind of thing. Shi Yumi nodded, took his hand and said, I don't know about fighting and killing. I just hope you're all right. Don't worry, these little killers can't do anything to me. As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, the cell phone in his pocket rang. Take a rest first. I'll answer the phone. After saying that, he walked out with his cell phone. Behind him, a complicated look flashed across Shi Yumi's eyes. Qin Haodong pressed the answer button and Ma Wenzhua's excited voice came from the other side of the phone. Haodong, I've arrived in City N. According to your request, I've brought 30 brothers from the Daddy Security Company. All of them are above the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Good. You guys take a rest and follow my orders tomorrow. After the encounter with the killer in the bar yesterday, Qin Haodong came up with a countermeasure. Since the Angel Company didn't want to show up, he would force them to show up. He called Ma Wenzhua and 30 experts above the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm from China. After the Fashion Week activities, Qin Haodong took Shi Yumi back to the apartment. The next day, Shi Yumi went to Lincoln Center to participate in the rest of the activities. Qin Haodong went to the building of the Angel Pharmaceutical Company alone. This was the headquarters of the Angel Company. All the business was carried out here. Since the hidden forces refused to show up, he decided to start from here and forced the people hiding behind the scenes to show up. Chapter 8:14. The office building of Angel Pharmaceutical had 18 floors. As one of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world, Angel Pharmaceutical had made a lot of money over the years. The decoration was extremely luxurious and it looked magnificent. After entering the building, a beautiful receptionist came up to him and said politely to Qin Haodong, "Sir, what business do you have with Angel Pharmaceutical? I want to see your boss." The receptionist said, "Sir, do you have an appointment?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I don't even know who he is. How can I have an appointment? But you just need to tell him that Qin Haodong is here. He will definitely see me." Well, the receptionist was a little hesitant. Was this Wuxia man famous? She had never heard of him before. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You can try calling him. Otherwise, you can't afford the consequences." "All right then." The receptionist didn't think that Qin Haodong was a liar. After hesitating for a moment, she finally called him. On the 18th floor of the building, Varen was sitting in a large boss's chair, constantly flirting with the female secretary in front of him. Just as he was about to put his big hand into the female secretary's collar, the phone on the table suddenly rang. He frowned. Who was so stupid as to call him at this time? He picked up the phone with a sullen face and heard the receptionist say, "General Manager, a man named Qin Haodong is downstairs. He wants to see you." "What? What did you say his name was?" Varen, who had been sitting calmly a moment ago, suddenly felt as if his butt was on fire. He pushed the female secretary away and jumped up from the chair. Although he was not the head of the Angel Group, he was pushed to take charge of such a large industry and was also one of the core members. Naturally, he knew Qin Haodong's name. However, he didn't expect that this devil, whom the organization was extremely afraid of, would come to him in person. The receptionist was also shocked by Varen's reaction. She said again, "He said his name is Qin Haodong. Should I let him go up? Wait for my call." After hanging up the phone, Varen waved the female secretary out. Then he picked up another phone on the table and made a call. Soon, Klinsmann's face appeared on the big screen opposite him. "Varen, what can I do for you?" "Here's the thing, boss. Qin Haodong is here. He's at the front desk downstairs now. Should I see him?" "What? Qin Haodong is here?" Klinsmann was also taken aback. He had offered a bounty of $100 million on the deep web to hire a killer, thinking that Qin Haodong would leave M country because of the tireless assassination. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong would come to him. "Yeah, boss, do I want to see him or not?" "Yes, of course. You are in charge of legitimate businesses. Why are you afraid of him?" Varen said, "But what if he asks about the assassination? How should I answer?" Klinsmann said discontentedly, "Do you only think about women?" Of course, he couldn't admit that he needed me to teach him this kind of thing. "Also, turn on the monitor. I want to see what this kid is here for." "Got it, boss." Varen hung up the phone and informed the receptionist to let Qin Haodong go upstairs. Then he turned on the secret surveillance camera in the room. In another secret room, Klinsmann looked at the image on the big screen and said to Mora, "What do you think this guy is doing here?" Mora said, "This guy never does things according to the rules. I'm not sure, but he has been assassinated 3 times in a row. It's very likely that he is here to make peace." Klinsmann hesitated for a moment and said, based on Qin Haodong's past performance, it's unlikely that he is here to make peace. It's very likely that he is here to punish us. Morris sneered and said, Angel Company is a legitimate business. What's the use of him going there to punish us? Don't tell me you dare to smash our building. While they were talking, Qin Haodong stepped into Varen's spacious office under the guidance of the receptionist. After entering, he didn't wait for Varen to receive him. He sat on the wide sofa as if he were at home. Looking at the young man in front of him, Varen said, Mr. Qin, what can I do for you? Qin Haodong said, don't you know why I'm here? Have you talked to your boss just now? Have you thought about how to deal with me? Varen's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that the young man would even guess this. But after all, he was also an experienced man, so his expression remained calm. Mr. Qin, I don't know what you're talking about. We are serious businessmen. Qin Haodong looked at him and sneered, someone on the deep web offered a reward of $100 million to assassinate me. Did you do it? Varen had already made up his mind. He said, Mr. Qin, I've already said that we are doing legal business here. How could it have anything to do with killers? If there's nothing else, please leave. Don't disturb our normal work. Qin Haodong ignored him. He looked around the office and said to a beautiful mural on the wall, although I don't know who you are, I guess you must be watching me. Klinsmann, who was staring at the big screen, was startled. He said to Mora, this guy actually found us. Mora said, boss, we don't need to be nervous. At most, he found the camera. It's impossible for him to find our headquarters. Qin Haodong continued, if you want to kill me, come to me in person. Don't play these dirty tricks. They're useless to me. Seeing that Qin Haodong had found the camera, Varen was shocked at first, then he said with a sullen face, Mr. Qin, if there's nothing else, please leave. Qin Haodong then said to the camera, hurry up and remove the assassination task on the deep web, or you can't afford the consequences. Mora said, this guy dares to threaten us. I really don't know what he has to threaten us. Klinsmann smiled proudly and said, since he made this request, it proves that he is tired of being annoyed by these killers. I believe that he will soon run out of M country. Qin Haodong seemed to have finished speaking. He stood up and walked around the office. Then he said to Varen, in Wuxia, the 18th floor is another name for hell. This floor is very bad. Varen said gloomily, Mr. Qin, please leave now, or I'll call the security guards right away. At the same time, under the building of Angel Pharmaceutical, a group of people came up. These people were dressed in strange clothes. They were all heroes in Marvel movies. The one in the front was Spider-Man, and the one next to him was the Hulk. There were many other characters behind them, such as Captain America, Iron Man, Wasp, Thor, and even villains such as Thanatos. It was a large collection of Marvel characters. Nowadays, the Avengers produced by Marvel Company was playing in all the major cinemas, so people were not surprised by the appearance of these characters. They thought it was just an activity made by Marvel fans, or an advertisement by Marvel Company. Many people went to take photos with their favorite characters. Spider-Man, who was walking in the front, was the most coquettish. From time to time, he flirted with the beautiful women passing by, taking advantage of them and taking advantage of them. Zhang Tiniu, who was dressed as Hulk, was tall, and Ma Wenjue was dressed as Spider-Man. Zhang Tiniu whispered to the microphone in his ear, Brother Ma, is this appropriate? Isn't it too ostentatious? Ma Wenjue said with a smile, it's good. It's cool and no one knows us. We can also take advantage of the beautiful women. As he spoke, he took advantage of the chest of the beauty who was taking a photo with him, causing the beauty to giggle. Saber, who was dressed as Iron Man, asked, when are we going to do it? Ma Wenjue said, the boss said that we will start after 10 minutes. There is still 1 minute left. Tell us the next task. We have to move fast after we go in. Our goal is to destroy the facilities and try not to kill anyone. We will meet on the roof in 5 minutes and then evacuate together. Got it. After hearing his order, the others answered in unison. At this time, a 4 or 5-year-old boy ran over, stood in front of Ma Wenjue and said, "Spider-Man, can you fly for me?" Spider-Man patted the little boy's cheek and said, "No problem. We'll take off right away." Then Ma Wenjue gave an order to the microphone, "Do it." After giving the order, everyone used their body movements and rushed to the Angel Building together. Ma Wenjue had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He had the highest cultivation among them and was also the fastest. In the blink of an eye, he arrived downstairs of the Angel Building. Although he could not spit silk like Spider-Man, under the operation of his cultivation method, his palms and feet seemed to have suction cups. He climbed up the Angel Building and reached the 17th floor in the blink of an eye. At this time, the people on the street were dumbfounded. They had never expected that Iron Man and Spider-Man would really come to their lives and show magical power. That Spider-Man is so powerful. He climbed so fast. What is he doing? Is he making a movie? But I don't see where the wire is. It can't be a movie. Otherwise, how could Thanos cooperate with Thunder God? Even Iron Man climbed upstairs. What are they going to do? Under many surprised eyes, the Marvel characters in front of them climbed up the Angel Building together. They were distributed in an orderly manner, leaving 12 people on each floor. A female employee of the Angel Building was making a cup of coffee. She had just sat by the window and was about to enjoy it when she suddenly saw Spider-Man's face appear in front of her. "Oh my God, what am I seeing?" Just as she was about to call other colleagues, she saw Spider-Man raise his fist and punch the glass of the French window. With a crash, the thick glass was smashed into pieces. Then Spider-Man rushed in from the outside. In terms of destructive power, Ma Wenjue, who had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, was much stronger than the real Spider-Man. After entering the 17th floor, he was like a humanoid tank, turning everything in his way into ruins. Fortunately, his target was only the facilities in the building and he did not attack anyone. "Oh no, Spider-Man is coming. Run!" The employees in the office building did not know what was going on. They ran out of the building in panic. Several security guards were about to rush over to stop him, but they were sent flying by Ma Wenjue's punch. The same was true for the other floors. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The destructive power of these Marvel characters was so amazing that in just a few minutes, the Angel Building was completely destroyed. The people in the office building fled in panic, and soon the entire building became empty. At the same time, the phone of the police station in N City was almost blown up. At first, when the police officers heard that Spider-Man and Iron Man were attacking the Angel Building, they thought it was a prank. However, as more and more people called, they took it seriously. This chapter is about the big shots. Fat cat rolls here and there. Chapter 8:15. After confirming that the Angel Building had been attacked, the police station of M Country immediately took action as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Countless police cars roared toward the Angel Building. On the 18th floor of the Angel Building, there was a big screen opposite the desk. Every floor of the office building could be clearly seen. At this time, Varen was completely dumbfounded as he looked at the scene on the big screen. The characters who used to live in Marvel could now destroy several rooms with a single punch. A casual kick could cause the house to collapse. In just a few minutes, the once luxurious Angel Building had been reduced to rubble. It was a horrible sight. What the hell is going on? Varen slammed the table and roared. Qin Haodong sat back on the sofa and crossed his legs. He looked at him with a smile and said, "I can give you the answer. Your angel company has done too many bad things, so God has sent someone to punish you." Varen's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted, "Nonsense, you must have done this, right? Although this was not the nest of Angel Company, it had been built with a lot of money. The loss this time almost made him collapse. At this moment, a wall of his president's office collapsed with a bang. Ma Wenjue and the others rushed in from the outside. The other floors had all been smashed, leaving only the last 18 floors. There was strength in numbers. With the joint efforts of 31 people, it only took a few seconds for the entire 18th floor of the building to be turned into rubble, except for the sofa where Qin Haodong was sitting. The Hulk grabbed Varen by the ankle and slammed him hard against the wall behind him. After doing all this, Iron Man raised his hand and punched a big hole in the roof. The crowd jumped out from the roof of the Angel building, jumped to the roof of another building not far away, and quickly disappeared. At this time, hundreds of police officers had surrounded the entire Angel building. However, the elevator had been damaged. These police officers were already panting when they climbed to the 18th floor. Director Carter of the police station was especially panting. He originally weighed nearly 150 kilograms. When he climbed to the 18th floor, he looked no better than Varen, who had been beaten up. He was panting heavily with his mouth open. When he saw the police, Varen immediately got up from the ground as if he had seen his savior. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Director Carter, you're finally here. This guy asked someone to smash our Angel building. He's the culprit. We must arrest him." Carter was finally panting. He glared at Varen and said, "This gentleman is sitting here. There is no evidence to prove that he has anything to do with these criminals. We are a country ruled by law. We need evidence to arrest people." Although Angel Company belonged to one of the large consortiums in M country, he had received a call from the Jared family before he came here. He could not touch this young man in any case. This, although he knew that it was Qin Haodong who did it, he really couldn't produce any evidence. Carter licked his bloody lips and said helplessly, "Director Carter, you saw it too. The whole building was smashed, but he's the only one who's fine. This means that he's with those people." Qin Haodong put down his legs and stood up from the sofa. He looked at him playfully and said, "Mr. Varen, you can't say that. They didn't hit me. Maybe it's because I'm too handsome." He took another look at the mural on the ground. The quality of the camera on the opposite side was good. It was still working. "Hurry up and cancel the task, or God will punish you again." After that, he left the Angel building leisurely. "Get out of here." On the other side of the camera, Klinsmann grabbed a wine glass and smashed it on the ground to vent his anger. Mora's face was livid. He had just predicted that Qin Haodong would not dare to do anything to Angel building, but now it was smashed so thoroughly that they couldn't find any loopholes. A large number of police officers completely blocked the entire Angel building. After searching from the roof to the basement, they found no trace of the criminals. In desperation, Director Carter returned to the police station with his men and issued arrest warrants for Spider-Man, the Hulk, and other criminals. After the police left, Fei Long immediately took out his cell phone and dialed Klinsmann's number. As soon as the phone was connected, Klinsmann growled on the other side of the phone, "Tell me, how much did you lose this time?" Varen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "Boss, these people are too ruthless. The entire Angel building has been smashed. Except for the sofa under Qin Haodong's butt, there's nothing left. Don't talk nonsense. I'm asking you to report the losses." Klinsmann's heart was bleeding when he suffered such a huge financial loss. "Oh. Well, boss, the direct economic loss is about $1 billion. In addition, in order to prevent hackers from destroying the scientific research data of the 3 laboratories in our building, they are all stored on standalone computers. Now the computer chips have been completely destroyed and can't be restored. Because of this accidental smashing, we can't fulfill the contract we signed. The compensation for breach of contract will be an astronomical figure. Also, the damage to the reputation of our Angel group this time is immeasurable. Bastard. Bastard! Klinsmann slammed his cell phone on the ground. Originally, he just wanted to use the power of the deep web to force Qin Haodong out of M country, but he didn't expect that it would cause such a huge loss to the Angel Group. In the organization behind him, the Angel Group's responsibility was to be responsible for financial security. Especially after the collapse of Wilson Company, the higher-ups had strictly ordered them not to have any financial problems. Now that they had suffered such a huge loss, he was afraid that the organization's punishment would be inevitable. Mora also realized this. He asked nervously, "Boss, what should we do? This devil dared to destroy my place. I'll kill him today even if I have to risk my life." A crazy look flashed in Klinsmann's eyes. Increase the reward of the deep web to $500 million. I don't believe that an overwhelming number of killers can't kill him. Mora said, "But how should we explain it to the higher-ups?" Klinsmann said, "As long as we kill Qin Haodong, the higher-ups won't punish us even if we lose the entire Angel Group." Qin Haodong left the Angel Building and was about to go to Lincoln Center to watch the model performance of the Fashion Week. At this time, his cell phone rang. It was Donnie Randall. He answered the phone and asked, "How is it going? What's the response from Angel Pharmaceutical?" Donnie Randall said nervously, Angel Pharmaceutical suddenly increased the reward from $100 million to $500 million. Now many killers who haven't been out for many years have taken this task. Is it getting worse?" Qin Haodong sneered. "It seems that the pressure of destroying the Angel Building is not enough. I'll see how long he can hold on." Then he hung up the phone with Donnie Randall, dialed Ma Wenjua's number, and issued a series of orders. After the phone call, he smiled playfully, turned the car around, and drove directly to the police station of N City. Carter was sitting in his office worrying. The case that happened in the Angel Building was obviously the work of a master. These people had godlike power, and ordinary people like them could not catch them at all. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with it, the office door suddenly opened and Qin Haodong walked in happily. Carter was stunned to see him. He had a close relationship with the Jared family, and old Jared had just told him not to provoke this young man's surname Qin. Because of this, he did not make things difficult for Qin Haodong in the Angel Building, but he did not expect that this man would come to him again. "Mr. Qin, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong sat opposite Carter happily and said, "Director Carter, I'm a little thirsty. Can I have a cup of coffee here?" Carter was a little confused. He did not know what Qin Haodong was up to, but since Qin Haodong was here, he could only entertain him warmly. He quickly asked his secretary to make a cup of good coffee for Qin Haodong. "This coffee tastes good." Qin Haodong leisurely took a sip of the coffee and said, "Director Carter, you go ahead with your business. Don't worry about me. I'll rest here for 2 hours and leave in less than 2 hours." Carter did not understand what Qin Haodong was going to do, but Qin Haodong did not have any special requirements. He just wanted to sit here for 2 hours. Outside the police station, the killers who had accepted the task were completely dumbfounded. Qin Haodong had been hiding in the police station. How could they kill him? Even though they were very arrogant and had countless ways to kill people, they would not go to the police station to assassinate a master, would they? In the secret room, Klinsmann said to Mora with a gloomy look, "How is it? Is there any reaction from them?" "Not yet. That guy surnamed Qian seems to know that we are going to take revenge on him, so he has already hidden in the police station. Although there are many killers who have accepted the task, no one dares to go in and assassinate him." Klinsmann cursed angrily, "Bastard, this cunning Wuxia man, let's see how long you can stay here." Just then, Mora's cell phone rang. After picking up the phone, his expression changed greatly. "Boss, bad news. One of our pharmaceutical factories in City N was smashed by those Marvel heroes." "Ah. Is he threatening me?" Klinsmann cried, "Is the loss great?" Mora said with a bitter face, "It's not much different from here. Basically, nothing was left. The entire pharmaceutical factory was destroyed. Devil. He is a devil. Klinsmann was so angry that he roared crazily. But at this moment, Mora's cell phone rang again. After picking up the phone, he said to Klinsmann, "Boss, our branch in Neon was just attacked by unknown forces. Now it is completely paralyzed." "Boss, our pharmaceutical factory in Neon was attacked by unknown forces." "Boss, our pharmaceutical factory in Wuxia was seized." In less than half an hour, Klinsmann had received 6 or 7 pieces of bad news. He slowly found a pattern. The enemy attacked every 5 minutes, and every time they attacked, Angel Pharmaceutical would suffer great losses. The killers had not touched a hair of Qin Haodong, but they had been attacked again and again. The total loss had reached tens of billions. At this time, Klinsmann sat on the sofa dejectedly. He did not even have the strength to be angry. Mora was so anxious that he broke out in a cold sweat. "Boss, Qin Haodong's power is really terrible. Why don't we cancel the task? Otherwise, we really can't bear it." Angel Company's business was extremely large. They had branches and pharmaceutical factories in major countries around the world, but now almost 1/5 of them had been destroyed. It was no exaggeration to say that they had suffered a great loss. Chapter 8:16. Klinsmann also realized that the entire Angel Pharmaceutical would be destroyed if he continued to resist. He sighed and said, "Call Varen and ask him to negotiate with Qin Haodong. We fully agree to his conditions and ask him to stop immediately." "Yes, boss." Mora didn't dare to delay and immediately called Varen. Qin Haodong was sitting in the director's office, drinking coffee leisurely. His cell phone rang in his pocket. He took it out and found it was a strange number. Then he pressed the answer button. As soon as the phone was connected, Varen's anxious voice came from the other side. "Mr. Qin, I'm Varen from Angel Pharmaceutical. We fully accept the conditions you just put forward. We'll immediately cancel the task on the deep web. Please stop." "My conditions? When did I make any conditions?" Qin Haodong said in a relaxed tone, "It's only been half an hour. I'm going to rest here for 2 hours." Hearing this, Varen's heart trembled. This guy would do it every 5 minutes. In 2 hours, half of Angel Pharmaceutical would be gone. "Mr. Qin, please stop. We're very sincere. If you want to talk, we can. Just transfer the $500 million to my account and we'll let this matter go." "What? Didn't you say that we could just cancel the task? Why do you want $500 million? Qin Haodong said, "That was just now. There was such a good opportunity in front of you, but you didn't agree. Now it's $500 million, and 10 minutes later, it'll be $1 billion. Mr. Qin, I can't make the decision. Please wait for me to call my boss." Qin Haodong said leisurely, "Whatever. I'm not in a hurry." He was right. Klinsmann was in a hurry now. Just as Varen made the call, another affiliated pharmaceutical factory of Angel Pharmaceutical was smashed. So when he received Varen's call, although he was angry, he had no other choice. He could only say helplessly, "We agree to his conditions and transfer $500 million to him immediately." Qin Haodong sat on the sofa. Only 3 minutes later, he received a notification that $500 million had been transferred to his account. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seemed that Angel Pharmaceutical had investigated him thoroughly. They even knew his account information. At this time, his phone rang. It was Donnie Randall. "Qin, how did you do it? Angel Pharmaceutical has withdrawn the assassination mission." Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. I'm just trying to influence them with my strength." After hanging up, Varen called, "Mr. Qin, we've done everything according to your conditions. $500 million has been transferred to your account, and the task has been cancelled. Please stop immediately." Alright, tell the person above you not to play such a low-level game with me in the future. Otherwise, he won't be able to afford it. Qin Haodong hung up the phone and sent a message to Ma Wenjue, Yagyi Yukheim, and the others, asking them to stop. Finally, there was no more bad news. Klinsmann lay on the sofa like a pile of mud. He was about to collapse. He had always thought that it would not be a problem for him to deal with Qin Haodong with his strength and intelligence. However, he was played like a dog by Qin Haodong. After the assassination mission was issued, it didn't work at all. On the contrary, it caused Angel Pharmaceutical a loss of more than $10 billion. At that moment, his phone rang. Klinsmann looked at the number and immediately jumped up as if he had a cramp. He respectfully pressed the answer button. "Master, what can I do for you?" "Klinsmann, do you think you're living a comfortable life? I told you not to provoke Qin Haodong for the time being. How dare you disobey my order and cause such a huge economic loss to the group? How should I punish you?" The voice on the other side of the phone was like metal, without any human emotion. Klinsmann felt a chill in his heart when he thought of how terrible that person was. He begged in a trembling voice, "Master, I was wrong this time. Please forgive me this time for the sake of the organization." The voice on the other side of the phone said, "Save your life first. Now the organization is in need of money. You should immediately resume the production of Angel Pharmaceutical. If the capital chain is broken, I'll make you suffer. Master, I'll work hard." Although it was on the other side of the phone, Klinsmann still felt great pressure. He was sweating all over and even his clothes were soaked. "I'm warning you again. Now is not the time to kill Qin Haodong. When the time is right, I'll send someone to kill him." After that, the voice on the other side of the phone hung up with a snap. In the police station, Qin Haodong put down his phone and said to Carter, "Director Carter, thank you for your coffee. I'm leaving." After that, he left the police station while Carter was still in a daze. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong was lost in thought again. This time, it seemed that he had gained the upper hand in the confrontation with Angel Pharmaceutical, but in fact, there was no substantial progress. He still hadn't found the enemy's nest. How could he dig out the nest of Tianqi Pharmaceutical from the ground? It seemed that his own strength was not enough. After hesitating for a moment, he called Donnie Randall again. In the face of the alien demons, he chose to believe in Donnie Randall. "Qin, why did you call me so soon? What's the matter?" "There's something important I want to discuss with you." It was the first time that Donnie Randall had seen Qin Haodong so serious. She immediately became nervous and asked, "What's the matter? Have you heard of the alien demons?" "The alien demons?" Donnie Randall shook her head. Although the deep web was very powerful, she didn't have any information about the alien demons. Qin Haodong told her everything about the alien demons from beginning to end. At the end, he said, "Angel Pharmaceutical is the minions of the alien demons. Now I want to uproot them, but it's a pity that I can't find where their nest is hidden. Now I need the power of the deep web to help me find them as soon as possible." "No problem. I'll assign the task to them now." Donnie Randall had no doubt about Qin Haodong's words. It was a matter of life and death for the human race, so she agreed without hesitation. After handing over the task of finding the headquarters of the Angel Group to the Deep Web, Qin Haodong returned to Lincoln Center to watch the model performance of the Fashion Week here. In the evening, he returned home with Shi Yumi. After dinner, he asked her about the branch of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, but Shi Yumi was good at clothing and didn't know much about the pharmaceutical industry. Qin Haodong thought that Huang Mingzhi and his disciples should know more about this kind of thing, so he drove directly to Chinatown. At night, Chinatown was brightly lit. Most of the businesses here lived in their shops. At this time, they were not closed yet. It looked as prosperous as it was during the day. Qin Haodong came to Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Shop. Like other businesses, it was not closed, but there were fewer patients than during the day. The old master, Huang Mingzhi, was sitting in an old-fashioned wooden armchair and drinking tea, while Huang Shaoxian was playing mobile games beside him. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, the master and his disciple immediately got up to greet him. They were filled with infinite gratitude for this life-saving benefactor. "Mr. Qin, you're here. Please have a seat. Shaoxian, make tea." Huang Mingzhi warmly invited Qin Haodong inside. He took out the Dehongpo tea that he was reluctant to drink and gave it to Huang Shaoxian, asking her to make another pot of tea. After sitting down, Qin Haodong went straight to the point. He directly told him about his plan to set up a branch of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company in City N. Then he said, "Mr. Huang, you've been in M country for so many years, so you know everything about this place. Do you have any good suggestions on how to get the approval of drugs here?" Huang Mingzhi frowned and said, "Little Qin, it's really not easy. Our investment in M country is going smoothly, but it's difficult to enter the traditional Chinese medicine industry. The approval of drugs in M country is in the hands of the Food and Drug Administration, and the director here, Ba Siteng, is a person who doesn't accept traditional Chinese medicine. It's almost impossible for him to approve the procedures for you." Qin Haodong said, "Is there any other way? For example, which big consortium can help us?" If possible, he was ready to ask the Maldini family to solve this matter. But Huang Mingzhi shook his head and said, "As far as I know, Ba Siteng is a very stubborn and upright man. He doesn't accept any gifts or give in to power. I'm afraid that even the president can't help us." Qin Haodong also frowned. He had no scruples about taking action against Angel Pharmaceutical, but he couldn't do anything to such a stubborn and upright man. "Old mister, is there no other way to think of?" Huang Mingzhi said, "Unless you can persuade Ba Siteng, there is no other way." While they were talking, there was a noise outside, and then a dozen people ran in, covered in blood. These people were all strong young men. They were carrying 2 stretchers and hurried into Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Clinic. "Grandpa Huang, please take a look at my brother. He's injured." After entering the door, a young man with blood still dripping from his shoulder shouted. Qin Haodong glanced at these people. They were all injured, obviously by swords and knives. It seemed that there had just been a fight. Especially the 2 people lying on the stretchers. One of them had both legs broken. At this time, his face was full of pain, but he was tough and didn't make a sound. The other young man had fallen into a coma. His sternum had collapsed, and his left arm was broken in 2. It seemed that he was in danger. Huang Mingzhi suddenly stood up and shouted, "How did Tang Hu and Tang Biao get so badly injured?" He turned to the young man with the injured arm and asked, "Lu Feng, what the hell is going on?" Lu Feng said, "Grandpa Huang, we just fought with the Dragon Subduing Society. We didn't know that they had masters. Tang Hu and Tang Biao were injured. Don't worry. Hurry up and put them on the bed. I'll take a look at their injuries." After Huang Mingzhi finished speaking, several people hurriedly put the severely injured person on the bed in the clinic. But at this time, more than a dozen people came in from outside the door, led by a black man about 2 meters tall. He glanced at the people in the clinic and said arrogantly, "Let's see who dares to treat him. Bolton, how dare you chase us to our Chinatown?" Lu Feng said and pulled out a dagger with his intact arm. He pointed at the black man and shouted, "Brothers, let's fight with these foreign devils." Although the people behind him were injured, their momentum was not weak at all. After a response, they rushed forward to fight. "Wait a minute, don't be impulsive." Huang Mingzhi hurriedly stopped Lu Feng. All of them were injured. If they fought now, they would be at a disadvantage. Chapter 8:17. He said to the big black man, "This is a clinic, not a place to make trouble. Please get out." The big black man said, "Old man, let me tell you, we are from the Dragon Subduing Society. These people were injured by me. Now hand over these people immediately, or I will tear down your clinic immediately." Huang Mingzhi stared at him and said, "They are my compatriots and my patients. I will never hand them over to you. You bastards, get out of here." The big black man smiled coldly and said, "You don't know what's good for you. It seems that I have to teach you a lesson." After that, he waved his hand to his men behind him and said, "Smash this place and take these people away." After receiving the order from the big man, these people immediately rushed up to fight. Lu Feng and the others also clenched the weapons in their hands, seeing that a fight was about to begin. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, "The old man told you to get out of here. Didn't you hear him?" Qin Haodong stepped in front of the big black man and protected Huang Mingzhi, Lu Feng and others behind him. "Little Qin, can you do it?" Huang Mingzhi said worriedly. Although Qin Haodong rescued him from the underground base, he did not see Qin Haodong fight, so he was a little uncertain. Qin Haodong smiled at him and said, "Old man, don't worry. We Wuxia people don't care about this kind of foreign devil at all." The big black man looked down at Qin Haodong and said disdainfully, "You don't know what's good for you. You are looking for death." Then he waved his huge fist and hit Qin Haodong's face. This guy had fought in underground boxing before, so his skill was really not ordinary. This punch carried a strong wind and was full of momentum. A sneer appeared at the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. He raised his hand and punched out as well. Two fists, one big and one small, collided. There was a cracking sound of bones, and then the big black man let out a murderous howl. His huge fist was smashed by the punch. "Ah!" The big black man held his injured arm and shouted to the people behind him, kill him quickly." Upon receiving the order, the people behind him immediately drew out weapons of different lengths and rushed toward Qin Haodong. Two of them even took out two pistols from their waists. Lu Feng stood behind Qin Haodong and raised the dagger in his hand. He shouted and was about to rush forward to help, but before he could take 2 steps, he saw Qin Haodong punching and kicking. In the blink of an eye, these people were all sent flying. Before the 2 gunmen could raise their pistols, Qin Haodong had already appeared in front of them like a ghost. He raised his hand and crushed their wrists. The pistols fell to the ground with a clatter. Seeing that he had encountered a master, the black man's eyes flashed with resentment. He said to his men, "Let's go." The injured men got up from the ground and were about to run, but Qin Haodong's figure flashed and blocked their way. "Did I say you could leave?" The black man covered his injured arm and shouted fiercely, "What else do you want? Let me tell you, our Dragon Subduing Society is not something you can afford to offend." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Just now the old man told you to get out, so you have to get out." Behind the black man, a tattooed gangster shouted, "Boy, don't go too far, if you annoy us," but before he finished speaking, a huge foot appeared in front of him, and then he was kicked to the ground. Qin Haodong stepped up, raised his leg and stepped on the tattooed gangster's calf. There was another burst of bone-cracking sound, and the gangster's heart-wrenching scream resounded through the whole street. "I'll give you 2 choices, either get out, or be like him." Seeing that Qin Haodong's means were so cruel, fear flashed in the black man's eyes. At that moment, he didn't care about his face anymore. He immediately fell to the ground and rolled out of the door. Seeing that their boss had rolled away, the other punks didn't dare to hesitate. They followed him and rolled out of the door, including the tattooed punk whose leg had been trampled. He endured the pain and rolled out of the door. Then, he was supported by the others and ran away quickly. At this time, a lot of Wuxia people gathered outside the Tai traditional Chinese medicine shop to watch the fun. When they saw this scene, they cheered and applauded warmly. Lu Feng put away the knife, walked to Qin Haodong and bowed deeply, "Little brother, I didn't expect you to be so good at martial arts. Thank you so much. We are all Wuxia people. There is no need to be polite. Qin Haodong said, look at the injuries of the injured. Only then did Huang Mingzhi recover from the shock. He went to the bedside and felt the pulse of the young man named Tang Hu. Then, he cut open the clothes on his chest and saw a huge palm print on his chest. Even his sternum had been beaten to the point that it had collapsed. He couldn't help frowning at such a serious injury. Lu Feng asked, Grandpa Huang, how is my brother's injury? Huang Mingzhi said, Tang Hu's injury is too serious. His sternum has collapsed and his internal organs have been hurt. There is nothing I can do. Let's send him to the hospital for treatment. Hearing this, Lu Feng immediately became nervous. Grandpa Huang, my brother doesn't have the identity here. He can't go to the big hospital at all. Please think of a way to save him. Huang Mingzhi sighed and said, we are all descendants of Wuxia and China. If I can do it, how can I not save him? It's a pity that the injury is too serious. I really can't do anything. Lu Feng's eyes flashed with despair, and some of the brothers behind him even began to sob. Don't worry, I can save him. Qin Haodong stepped over. He was not in a hurry before. After all, this was Huang Mingzhi's clinic. It was not appropriate for him to treat the patient first. But now Huang Mingzhi had no choice but to do it himself. Huang Mingzhi's eyes flashed with worry. Little Qin, are you sure you can do it? Although he knew that Qin Haodong was going to build a traditional Chinese medicine factory in N City, he didn't know that he was the famous medical sage. So in his opinion, even if Qin Haodong had some medical skills, he couldn't compare with an old Chinese medicine practitioner like him. Tang Hu's injury was so serious that even he couldn't do anything about it. How could this young man cure him? But Lu Feng didn't think so. Hearing Qin Haodong say that he could cure him, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes, which had been full of despair. Nearly half of the Chinese people in Chinatown were smuggled here. Their identities here couldn't be seen, they couldn't see the police, and they couldn't go to the big hospitals that cost a lot of money. Now even Huang Mingzhi, who had excellent medical skills, couldn't do anything about it. The young man in front of them was their only hope. Little brother, can you really cure my big brother's injury? Qin Haodong nodded and said, it can be cured for now, but it won't work in a while. Lu Feng knelt on the ground with a plop and said, little brother, as long as you cure my big brother, our lives will be yours in the future. The others also knelt on the ground and asked Qin Haodong with cupped fists. Get up, all of you. Your lives are useless to me. Don't affect my treatment of the patient. After Qin Haodong said that, he came to the bedside and first checked the pulse. Zhang Hu's injury was indeed very serious. His chest was hit by a master, and a large area of his sternum collapsed. Although the heart and lungs were not pierced, this kind of collapse and compression had caused the heart and lungs to be dislocated, and the internal organs to bleed a lot. With this kind of injury, even if he was sent to a big hospital, there was little hope of saving him. Tang Hu was not fated to meet Qin Haodong. After confirming the injury, he began to treat Tang Hu's injury. First, he used Bodhi's hand to restore the collapsed sternum bit by bit. The people around stood by and watched quietly. They didn't even dare to make a sound for fear of affecting Qin Haodong's treatment. In the beginning, Lu Feng looked at him and waved his hands in the air. He didn't know what kind of treatment this was. Then he was surprised to find that Tang Hu's collapsed chest slowly bulged up and finally returned to normal. Others were also very surprised. They didn't know traditional Chinese medicine, let alone what Bodhi's hand was. They all marveled at the weirdness of this treatment. But Huang Mingzhi was an expert. After a short period of astonishment, he said excitedly, Little Qin, is this the legendary Bodhi's hand? Yes, this is Bodhi's hand. Qin Haodong first used Bodhi's hand to straighten the broken bones, and then slowly restored the dislocated heart and internal organs. After getting a positive answer, Huang Mingzhi shouted excitedly, I didn't expect that I could see this kind of magic in my life. Qin Haodong had no time to be distracted. He took out the needle bag and pierced more than 20 silver needles into the big acupoints on Tang Hu's chest. He used green wood genuine qi to help him promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. After doing all this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he reached out and grabbed Tang Hu's broken arm. He pulled and loosened it, and the broken bones were set with a click. Oh my God, this is amazing. Is there such a bone-setting technique? Huang Mingzhi just calmed down a little, and immediately became excited again. This was the first time he had seen this kind of bone-setting technique in his life. At this time, Lu Feng came over and asked with concern, "Little brother, how is my big brother's injury?" Qin Haodong said, "No problem. He will recover in 20 minutes. What? Little brother, did I hear wrong?" Lu Feng couldn't believe his ears. Tang Hu's injury was so serious that even Huang Mingzhi was helpless. How could he recover so quickly? You didn't hear wrong. In 20 minutes, you will be a vigorous and lively boss. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he didn't stay idle. He turned around and came to another young man on a stretcher. This young man was called Tang Biao, Tang Hu's younger brother. In the fight just now, his legs were broken at the knees by the other party, and they were all in a V-shape. However, his big brother was in danger, so he had been enduring this bone-piercing pain and didn't make a sound. Bear with it. It will be fine soon. Qin Haodong grabbed Tang Hu's broken left leg, pulled and loosened it again. After a click, the broken bones were reconnected, followed by the right leg. In less than 2 minutes, both broken legs were restored. You can walk on the ground, but don't use force within 3 days, and don't fight with others. You will completely recover in half a month. Huang Mingzhi's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Little Qin, what kind of bone-setting technique is this? Can you teach it to me?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Old man, it's not that I don't want to teach it, but this kind of bone-setting technique can't be learned without internal strength." His bone-setting technique seemed extremely simple, but in fact, it was extremely difficult. He had to scan with his spirit to ensure that the broken bones were connected correctly. At the same time, he had to put a green wood genuine qi in the broken bones to promote the healing of the wounds. These two things were indispensable, so no one in the world could use this bone-setting technique except him. Huang Mingzhi sighed with a look of regret, but he also knew that this kind of magic was not something that everyone could learn. Then Qin Haodong finished treating all the wounds of Lu Feng and others. Looking at the time, almost 20 minutes had passed. He came to Tang Hu's bedside again, took back all the silver needles, helped him lie on the bedside, and asked Huang Shaoxian to take a wash basin. Then, he slapped Tang Hu's back. Tang Hu spat out a large mouthful of blood into the wash basin, and then slowly opened his eyes. Chapter 8:18. After Tang Hu woke up, he got out of bed and felt his body. There was nothing different than before he was injured. "Thank you, Grandpa Su. You must have saved me," Tang Hu said and bowed deeply to Su Mingzhi. Su Mingzhi quickly said, "Tang Hu, you're wrong. I don't have this ability. It was little Qin who saved your life." As he spoke, he also admired Qin Haodong greatly. He hadn't expected that the injury he had been unable to cure would be completely cured in less than half an hour in front of Qin Haodong. Tang Biao also said, "Yes, big brother, it was this little magic doctor who saved us. Not only your injury, but also the injuries of our brothers, he has also cured them." Tang Hu looked at Qin Haodong and was slightly surprised. However, he immediately bowed and said, "Little magic doctor, thank you for saving my life. May I know your name?" "I'm Qin Haodong." Su Mingzhi had known his name before, but he had never cared about it. Now that he heard his name again, his heart suddenly moved. He asked excitedly, "Little Qin, I recently heard that there is a new medical sage in Wuxia. His medical skills are superb. He invented a kind of elixir called the blood revival elixir, which can cure leukemia. Is it you? Qin Haodong nodded slightly. Yes, it's me. I just said that the traditional Chinese medicine factory I want to build is to produce the blood revival elixir. Su Mingzhi said excitedly, it turns out that the medical sage is here. No wonder his medical skills are so great. After everyone got to know each other, Tang Biao said, Brother medical sage, you just hurt the people of the Dragon Subduing Society. They will definitely come for revenge later. You should leave quickly. Of course, Qin Haodong couldn't leave. If he did, the Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Guild would suffer. He asked, what's wrong with those people? Why did you have a conflict with them? Tang Hu sighed and said, Brother medical sage, you can tell from the name of their gang that they are targeting the Wuxia people in M country. We have always claimed to be the descendants of the dragon, but they directly named themselves the Dragon Subduing Society in order to bully the Wuxia people here. Half a month ago, a man named Lei Fu suddenly appeared in N City and set up the Dragon Subduing Society to collect protection fees from every shop in Chinatown. We Chinese who came to a foreign country are naturally unwilling to be bullied by them, so I led the establishment of the Yan Huang Brothers Alliance, the purpose of which is to fight against the Dragon Subduing Society that oppresses the Chinese. But Lou's men are too powerful. Before we even saw him make a move, we were already losing ground. Today, I almost died at the hands of one of his subordinates, Chekhov. Lu Feng also said, yes, I don't know how those foreign devils train, but they are really powerful. Tang Biao said, Brother medical sage, why don't you stay in Chinatown and join our Yanhuang Brotherhood Alliance? With your skills, we won't be afraid of those foreign devils. Qin Haodong looked at Tang Hu. He was obviously a warrior and had reached the 9th level of overt power. Judging from your cultivation, you should be considered an expert among ordinary people. Why did you lose so badly? Could it be that they are all martial artists? Tang Hu said, I practiced with my grandfather since I was a child. Although I didn't step into the threshold of covert power, I was also at the 9th level of overt power. Originally, I also thought that it would not be a problem to deal with those foreign devils, but that Chekhov was obviously not a martial artist, and he didn't have any moves to speak of, but his strength was so great and his body's defense was amazing. With my ability, I couldn't hurt him at all, so I lost so badly. Qin Haodong said, is he practicing external martial arts? Tang Hu shook his head and said, I have seen external martial arts masters, but they more or less have the aura of a martial artist. That Chekhov didn't have any aura in this regard. He looked like a powerful beast. Qin Haodong didn't know what was going on with the other party without seeing the real person. However, as a Chinese, he naturally didn't want to see his compatriots being bullied. Tang Hu said again, Brother medical sage, if you are willing to join our Yanhuang Brotherhood Alliance, I will give you the position of the boss. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, I'm just a doctor. I'm not interested in these things. Seeing him refuse, a look of disappointment flashed across the faces of Tang Hu and the others. Qin Haodong looked at them and said, Tang Hu, Tang Biao, you should have touched the threshold of covert power. Lu Feng has also reached the 8th level of overt power, right? Tang Hu nodded and said, Brother medical sage, you really have sharp eyes. We are indeed at this level. It's a pity that we can't break through the bottleneck of covert power. Otherwise, we will be able to deal with that Chekhov. Qin Haodong said, although I can't join you, I can help you improve your cultivation and break through to above covert power. Then you will have the ability to protect yourself. If this was said by someone else, Tang Hu and the others would have disdained it. However, the skills and medical skills that Qin Haodong had just shown were so amazing that they immediately cried out in surprise, really, Brother medical sage, I thank you on behalf of our Chinese compatriots in Chinatown. Tang Biao said, Brother medical sage, do you need us to do anything? Do you want to find a quiet room? You don't need to do anything. Just take this pill and sit down, Wang Yao said. Qin Haodong said as he took out 3 spirit culturing pills and gave one to Tang Hu, Tang Biao and Lu Feng. The 3 of them took the pills and threw them into their mouths without hesitation. Then they sat cross-legged on the ground. You don't have to worry about anything. Just focus on running your cultivation and breaking through the bottleneck. Under Qin Haodong's instructions, the 3 of them began to run their internal qi with all their strength. With Qin Haodong's current cultivation at the early stage of Yuanying realm, it was like playing a game to help 3 overt power warriors break through. He just reached out and patted the top of the 3 people's heads. The greenwood genuine qi catalyzed the efficacy of the spirit culturing pill and instantly broke through the bottleneck of covert power. The 3 of them were overjoyed. They didn't expect that they could break through the threshold of covert power in just a few minutes after working hard for many years. Lu Feng was the happiest. His cultivation aptitude was not good. He didn't even reach the 9th level of overt power. Now he directly advanced from the 8th level of overt power to the level of covert power. What surprised them most was that the genuine qi in their bodies was getting stronger and stronger. After breaking through the threshold of covert power, it didn't stop but continued to move forward. In the end, Tang Hu and Tang Biao stayed at the 3rd level of covert power, and Lu Feng also reached the 2nd level of covert power. Qin Haodong was afraid that their foundation was unstable, so he didn't take them to continue to break through. After stabilizing their cultivation, the 3 of them jumped up from the ground and knelt in front of Qin Haodong. Master, please accept my worship. Although they knew that Qin Haodong was very powerful, they didn't expect him to be so powerful. In just a dozen minutes, he had led them to break through several levels. They would be fools if they didn't acknowledge such a master as their master. Huang Mingzhe and Huang Shaoxian were stunned. As people of Chinatown, they knew very well how unruly Tang Hu and others were. The 3 brothers usually thought highly of themselves and never put others in their eyes. Now they knelt together in front of Qin Haodong to worship him as a master, which refreshed their understanding of Qin Haodong again. Of course, Qin Haodong wouldn't accept these people as apprentices. He gently waved his hand, and an invisible force dragged them up. I'm just helping you out because we're all compatriots. Forget about the matter of taking in disciples. Tang Hu and others were disappointed, but they still kowtowed 3 times on the ground, and then stood up. At this moment, there was a burst of footsteps at the door, and a tall yellow-haired gangster came in. The yellow-haired gangster was a white man, dressed like a hippie, and his face was full of arrogance. After entering the door, he shouted to the people in the room, I'm from the Dragon Subduing Society. Who hurt our people just now? At this time, Tang Hu's cultivation was improved, and he was ready to vent his anger. When he heard that it was the Dragon Subduing Society, he immediately went forward to make a move. Qin Haodong reached out and stopped Tang Hu. He had already seen that although this little gangster's tone was very big, he was at best an errand boy. There was no need to fight with him at all. He said, I did it. What's the matter? The little gangster glanced at Qin Haodong. Seeing his thin arms and legs, the disdain in his eyes was even more intense. I'm here to issue a challenge. Just now, our boss Chekhov said that he will meet you in the Black Forest in an hour. If you don't dare to go, then Chinatown will be the unlucky one. At that time, our boss will get angry and kill you all. Qin Haodong said faintly, Go back and tell your boss that I must go to the Black Forest in an hour. You'd better prepare for your funeral. The little gangster was obviously full of confidence in his boss and left triumphantly. After he left, Tang Hu immediately said to Qin Haodong, Boss, take us with you. To deal with that Chekhov, you don't need to do anything now. Us brothers are enough. After improving his cultivation, he had unconsciously changed the way he addressed Qin Haodong to boss, and he was now full of confidence. He felt that even if Qin Haodong didn't do anything, he could beat Chekhov. Well, let's go together. Hearing that Qin Haodong was willing to take them with him, Tang Hu and the others were elated. Tang Biao ran out of the door and quickly drove an off-road vehicle over. They got in the car and drove straight out of the city. The Black Forest was located 50 kilometers away from the outskirts of N City. The bustling metropolis could no longer be seen here, and it was surrounded by dense woods. However, the night was particularly good tonight, and the full moon in the sky clearly illuminated the forest. When Qin Haodong and the others arrived, a tall white strong man was already waiting there. He was wearing a tight t-shirt, and his abnormally developed muscles were bulging. He was Chekhov, the vice president of the Dragon Subduing Society. Chekhov was stunned when he saw Tang Hu and Tang Biao, who were full of energy. He was the one who injured Tang Hu, and he also kicked Tang Biao's legs, so he was very clear about their injuries. He knew very well how heavy his palm was. Even if Tang Hu didn't die, he should only be half dead. Why did it seem that not only was he not injured, but he was even more energetic? After the shock, he immediately regained his calmness and looked at Qin Haodong, who was surrounded by several people in the middle. This young man looked gentle and weak, not even as strong as Tang Hu and the others, but he gave him a great sense of danger. While he was looking at Qin Haodong also glanced at him. This guy was indeed not a warrior, but his body was extremely strong, and he also had a beastly aura. Chekhov said, "Boy, did you hurt the people of our Dragon Subduing Society?" Qin Haodong said indifferently, "Yes." A fierce look flashed across Chekhov's face. "Shameless Chinese boy, how dare you touch the people of our Dragon Subduing Society? I will make you pay the price today." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Tang Hu was the first to jump out. "Boss, leave this kid to me. I will definitely beat him until his teeth fall out." Chapter 8:19. Qin Haodong nodded. This Chekhov looked very powerful, but he was only at the early stage of covert power. Now that Tang Hu had reached the third level of covert power, it should be more than enough to defeat him. With Qin Haodong's consent, Tang Hu strode to Chekhov. "Tang Hu, you loser. You're lucky to have survived last time. How dare you come here to die?" Tang Hu said, "Foreign devil, today I'll show you what Wuxia Kung Fu is." After that, he roared and punched Chekhov hard in the chest. Shaolin Tiger Taming Fist was Tang Hu's best punching skill. In the previous battles, he had hit Chekhov many times with this set of punching skills. However, he was not strong enough at that time. Even if he hit Chekhov's body, it was like tickling and could not cause any substantial damage at all. Chekhov didn't expect that he would improve in such a short time, so he didn't take his fist seriously at all. At the same time, he stretched out his big hand and punched Tang Hu's chest. In his opinion, Tang Hu's fist was no threat to him at all, but his own fist could kill Tang Hu. But the result was far beyond his expectations. Before his fist could touch Tang Hu's fist had already fiercely smashed into his chest. And compared with before, the strength of this punch was too great, far beyond his imagination. In the eyes of many different people, Chekhov was like a sandbag that was sent flying. He flew more than 10 meters in the air and hit a big tree behind him with a bang. Then, he fell to the ground with a plop, stirring up a cloud of smoke and dust. However, this guy's defensive ability was really strong. Even with Tang Hu's fist strength at the third level of covert power, it still did not cause much damage to him. Ow, on the contrary, this punch aroused Chekhov's fierceness. After he got up from the ground and howled, he rushed to Tang Hu again. Qin Haodong frowned slightly. This guy's defense was extremely strong, his movements were fast, and his strength was strong. He looked more like a mad beast. Good. After a successful punch, Tang Hu was full of confidence. He launched Tiger Taming Fist and fought with Chekhov again. Although Chekhov was brave, his strength had been completely suppressed by Tang Hu. Bang! 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 For a moment, there was the sound of fists hitting flesh, and Chekhov was beaten around like a sandbag by Tang Hu. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, even though Chekhov's defense was strong, he was beaten into a pig's head. This time, he was completely enraged. After getting up from the ground, he suddenly raised his head and let out a long howl that sounded like a wolf's howl at the full moon in the sky. Roar! After the cry, Qin Haodong's primordial spirit keenly felt that the full moon in the sky emitted an invisible ray of light into Chekhov's body. Then, Chekhov's entire body changed. His originally very tall and strong body grew rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, he had broken through 2 meters. The fur on its body was much longer than before, and its 2 large hands had become sharp claws. Its eyes shone with a blood-red light, and its nose and mouth protruded forward. It looked more like a wolf. Heavenly Wolf Tribe. Qin Haodong's expression changed. There used to be a strange race in the cultivation world, the Heavenly Wolf Tribe. The Heavenly Wolf clan was a strange clan. Their bodies were abnormally strong, and they cultivated the Heavenly Wolf body refining art. When this cultivation method reached its peak, it would not be inferior to the body refining cultivation methods of other cultivation sections. In fact, it might even be superior. Then he shook his head again. The Chekhov in front of him probably only had a little blood of the Heavenly Wolf Tribe. In terms of strength, it was too weak. It should be the legendary werewolf on the earth. Although he had completed the transformation, he had now barely improved from the early stage of covert power to the peak of covert power, which was equivalent to the 9th level of covert power. Tang Hu was enjoying himself, but he was shocked by the sudden transformation of Chekhov. As an earthling, he had naturally heard of the legend of werewolves and watched many movies about werewolves, but it was the first time for him to face a werewolf. Roar! After the transformation, Chekhov howled again. His body came in front of Tang Hu like lightning, and his sharp claws like steel knives stabbed into Tang Hu's chest. If this claw hit, he was afraid that his intestines would be pierced and his heart would be pulled out immediately. Tang Hu was completely scared. Although his cultivation had improved, he was only at the 3rd level of covert power. He couldn't compare with Chekhov, who had reached the peak of covert power. He couldn't even react at all. At this moment, a big hand as clear as jade stretched out, grabbed Chekhov's wrist, and then shook him and threw him out. Although Qin Haodong saved him, Tang Hu was still scared and broke out in a cold sweat. He said to Qin Haodong, "Bo. Bo. Boss, this seems to be a wolf, a werewolf. This is just a bastard werewolf. There's nothing to be afraid of. Leave it to me." Qin Haodong pushed Tang Hu behind him and turned back to face Chekhov. He wanted to get rid of the werewolf in front of him, or it would definitely be a huge threat to his compatriots in Chinatown in the future. Roar! A fierce light flashed in Chekhov's eyes. His whole body was like a jumping wolf, rushing to Qin Haodong like lightning. 2 sharp claws, one grabbed Qin Haodong's face, and the other grabbed Qin Haodong's chest. "How dare you shine like a grain of rice?" Qin Haodong's body didn't move. He gently lifted his toes and kicked Chekhov's face with his big foot. Even though the werewolf's defensive ability after transformation was strong, he still couldn't resist Qin Haodong's kick. Chekhov was kicked back more than 10 meters and fell to the ground with a thud, spitting out mouthfuls of blood. Although he was beaten so badly, the guy's ferocity was still there. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, he jumped up again and grabbed Qin Haodong's neck from top to bottom. Qin Haodong frowned, raised his hand, and slapped Chekhov in the face. This slap looked like an adult hitting a child, but it made Chekhov fall to the ground with a thud. His body even sank into the ground and was buried in the soil. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and stepped on Chekhov's chest. The powerful force sealed the blood vessels in his body. He couldn't even lift a finger, let alone resist. At this moment, as long as he exerted a little force with his toes, he could immediately crush Chekhov's heart. He looked up at the woods in front of him and whispered, "If he doesn't come out, I'll trample him to death." He clearly felt that there was another powerful existence hidden in the woods. The aura on the body was not much different from that of Chekhov, but more powerful. It should be Lo, the president of the Dragon Subduing Society. "Wuxia man, you're really strong." Accompanied by a rough voice, a sturdy young man walked out of the woods. He looked like he was in his 30s. He was wearing a suit made of exquisite material that accentuated his bulging muscles. He had deep eye sockets and a high nose bridge. He could be considered a handsome man among Westerners. Qin Haodong said, "Are you Lo?" "Yes, I am Lo. Let Chekhov go, and I'll fight with you." Qin Haodong gently lifted his toes and Chekhov's body flew straight out. Lo reached out to catch Chekhov and put him next to him. The werewolf after transformation was extremely strong in both defense and recovery. Chekhov wouldn't die as long as Qin Haodong didn't kill him. Lo stepped in front of Qin Haodong and said solemnly again, "Wuxia man, you're very strong. You're one of the few strong people I've ever seen. You're even stronger than those old guys in the divine court." Qin Haodong said, "You're not bad, but you're still no match for me. I'll give you two choices. Either make a heavy oath that you'll never be an enemy of the Wuxia people in this life, or die." A look of determination flashed across Lo's face. "Although you're very strong, I'm a warrior. Everything will have to wait until you defeat me." Qin Haodong said, "Since you want to fight, then make your move. Show me your strongest strength." "I will. This is respect for the strong." Lo took off his suit and threw it aside. He stretched his limbs and said, "Wuxia man, I'm going to make my move." After that, his body moved and he suddenly punched Qin Haodong in the face. It was not much different from Chekhov's. He didn't know martial arts, nor did he have any moves. He fought purely on instinct. But in contrast, his body was stronger and faster than Chekhov's. The air around his punch made a sharp hiss. Tang Hu, Tang Biao, and the others were scared out of their wits when they saw such an amazing punch. They hadn't fought with Lo yet. If this guy had made his move earlier, they wouldn't have been able to resist him even if they were tied together. Fortunately, they had Qin Haodong's support, or they would have died. In the face of the powerful punch, Qin Haodong shook his head slightly. He raised his hand and punched out. His fist looked simple and unadorned. It didn't even have any momentum. It was not much different from an ordinary person's punch. But after the two palms collided, Qin Haodong's body didn't move at all, but Lo was sent flying more than a dozen meters away at a faster speed, breaking several waist-thick trees one after another. Qin Haodong said, "You're too weak. I told you to show your strongest strength. Hurry up and transform." He had already seen that Lo was also a werewolf. Although his bloodline didn't exist, his level was higher than Chekhov's. Lo got up from the ground with an extremely serious look in his eyes. The Wuxia man in front of him was too terrifying. He was afraid that only the Wolf King of the werewolves could resist such a powerful aura. Realizing this, he didn't dare to hide anything anymore. He looked up at the full moon in the sky and let out a long howl. After the howl, a silver light sprinkled down from the sky. Lo's body immediately began to change. His hands turned into a pair of sharp claws, and his nose and mouth turned into a werewolf's. Unlike Chekhov, he was taller and the wolf fur on his body was thicker and faintly golden. Qin Haodong looked at the transformed Lo. His strength had risen from the early stage of the Supreme Power Realm to the peak of the Supreme Power Realm, which was equivalent to the 9th-level Supreme Power Realm of the human race. For werewolves like them, bloodline determined everything. If the celestial wolf of the cultivation world completed the transformation, their strength would increase by a whole level and jump to the saint realm. Because of the impure bloodline, both Lo and Chekhov could only reach the strongest level of their current level after the transformation. They couldn't break through. Howl, Lo let out an earth-shattering roar, which made the surrounding forest tremble. Countless birds spread their wings and flew into the night sky. He rushed forward like a giant wolf flying in the sky. His claws flashed coldly under the moonlight as he fiercely grabbed Qin Haodong's neck. Unfortunately, you're still not strong enough. Qin Haodong didn't even draw his Xian Yuan sword. He punched again. In terms of physical strength, his everwood longevity body was not inferior to Lo's after the transformation. His moves and body movements were 100 times stronger. The punch hit Lo's chest with a bang. His sternum collapsed with a crack, and Lo spat out blood and flew backward. Chapter 820. But as a higher-level werewolf, Lo had a stronger ability to recover. Such a serious injury did not threaten his life. On the contrary, he stood up in a few seconds. To everyone's surprise, Lo did not attack Qin Haodong again after he stood up. Instead, he knelt down in front of him. Wuxia man, you are indeed very powerful. If you help me get revenge, I will serve you as my master for the rest of my life. I will do whatever you want me to do. I will never be disloyal. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He had thought it would take some effort to subdue this higher-level werewolf. He did not expect this result. You want me to help you get revenge? Qin Haodong said. Then who is your enemy? If you can't kill your enemy even with your enhanced strength, it means that your enemy is even more powerful. A glint of hatred flashed in Lo's eyes. My enemy is Anthony, the red-robed high priest of the court of gods. He killed my wife and even my child, who was only a few months old. The reason why I'm alive today is to kill Anthony. The court of gods. Qin Haodong had heard of the court of gods before, but he thought it was just a religion. He did not expect that there would be such a powerful man that even Lo could not do anything to. He glanced at Lo and said, your story has piqued my interest. Tell me about it. If I'm interested, I may be able to help you. After recovering from his injuries, Lo stopped his frenzied transformation. A trace of reminiscence and sorrow appeared on his resolute face as he faintly said, I used to live in Europe. Although I was an orphan since I was young, I was able to get by with my strong body. When I was 25, I met the woman I loved the most in my life, Jones. She loved me too, and we were married soon after. We didn't have much money, and we didn't have much, but we were happy. When I was 28, my son, little Lo, was born. That night, I suddenly awakened my werewolf physique and completed my frenzy. All of this shocked me and my wife, but she didn't care. Whether I was a werewolf or an ordinary man, I was just her husband. I don't plan to reveal my identity as a werewolf, nor do I want to harm anyone. I just want to spend the rest of my life with the one I love. At this point, a bone-chilling hatred flashed in his eyes. But at this time, that detestable high priest Anthony sensed my aura when I was in a frenzy and came to my house. He told me that I was a creature of darkness and had to be eliminated. Otherwise, I would be a threat to mankind. My wife and I knelt in front of him and begged him. We promised that we would not harm anyone and that we would not reveal our werewolf identity. However, Anthony ignored our pleas and attacked me. In the end, Jonesy died in Anthony's hands to protect me. This inhumane thing didn't even spare my 1-month-old son, and directly threw him to his death in the cradle. What happened to my wife and son stimulated me to go berserk again, and from a beginner werewolf to a medium werewolf. Even so, I was still no match for Anthony. He was just too powerful. Later, I desperately escaped from him, not for anything else but to avenge my wife and son. Hearing this, everyone present was moved, especially Tang Hu and the others. Originally, they were full of fear when they saw the werewolf and even had a deep hatred for this kind of dark creature. However, after hearing his tragic life experience, infinite sympathy rose in their hearts. Although he was indeed a werewolf, he had never done anything bad. Why did the divine court want to kill him? Qin Haodong said, in the West, are there many dark creatures like you, or werewolves? Lo said, at first, I didn't know about this. Later, I restored my identity as a werewolf and integrated into this group. I found that the Western dark world is much larger than we thought. Not only are there werewolves like me, but there are also legendary vampires and dark wizards. There are also many very powerful people among them. Qin Haodong said, since you have many people of the same race, why don't you let them avenge you? Lo said, although the Western dark world is very strong, the opposing divine court is even stronger. The two sides have been fighting for thousands of years, and no one has gained the upper hand. Now they are in a state of balance. The Red Priest is second only to the Emperor, and he is extremely powerful. I am a wild werewolf without any family background, so naturally, no one is willing to help me. Qin Haodong didn't know much about the martial arts world of Wuxia after his rebirth, and he knew nothing about the Western dark world. Lo's story aroused his interest. He asked again, tell me about the composition of the Western dark world. What is the divine court like? What is the dark world like? Lo said, the Western dark world is mainly composed of three races, werewolves, vampires, and dark wizards. There is an organization in the dark world called the Dark Council. The Dark Council consists of 13 families, including 6 vampires, 6 werewolves, and the Dark Wizard Alliance. In the Dark Council, it seems that the number of dark wizards is the smallest, but they are extremely powerful. In terms of strength, they are no weaker than the werewolves and vampires. The highest leader of the council is the speaker. The strong are respected in the dark world, and the position of the speaker is not fixed. It is held by the strongest of the three races. The current speaker is the vampire queen of the vampires. Qin Haodong asked, how big is the Dark Council? Where is its headquarters? Lo said, the Dark Council covers the entire Western dark world, and its headquarters is in the Dark Castle in Austria. How strong is the speaker of the Dark Council, or the vampire queen? Lo said, I'm not sure. I've never seen the vampire queen, but I heard that she is extremely powerful. She is the only one in the entire Western underground world who can fight against the Emperor. Qin Haodong nodded. With your strength, what level are you in the dark world? Lo said, we werewolves are divided into 5 levels. The lowest level is the junior werewolf, then the intermediate werewolf, the great werewolf, the wolf king, and the wolf emperor. However, the wolf emperor is extremely rare and hasn't appeared for nearly 1,000 years. Now the highest level is the heads of the 6 families, who are all the wolf kings. After 2 evolutions, I'm now a great werewolf. If I'm lucky enough to evolve again, I'll reach the level of the wolf king, and then I'll have the hope of revenge. However, it's extremely difficult for werewolves to evolve. I'm already very lucky to be able to evolve twice in 10 years. Qin Haodong asked again, what about Chekhov? What level is he? He's just an intermediate werewolf. We are all awakened ones without any families to rely on. I accidentally rescued him from the divine court, and he has been following me since then. Qin Haodong understood. According to the classification of werewolves, the ultimate werewolf should be equivalent to the human race's covert power and warriors, the great werewolf should be equivalent to a supreme power master, and the wolf king could be comparable to a saint master. This showed how powerful the dark forces in the West were. As soon as he arrived here, he had an idea. If he could conquer the entire Western dark world, or form an alliance, it would be a great help to fight against the alien demons in the future. He asked again, how strong are the vampires? Compared with you werewolves? Lev said, in fact, before the divine court was born, the werewolves and the vampires had always been enemies, and their strength was similar. Later, under the pressure of the divine court, they formally called a truce and formed the Western Dark Council with the Dark Wizards. The highest level of the vampires is the Vampire Queen, and below them are the Prince, Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron. With my current strength, I should be similar to the vampire Grand Duke. After hearing this, Qin Haodong also had a preliminary understanding of the vampires. The Duke was equivalent to a supreme power master, and the Prince was comparable to a saint. How strong are the Dark Wizards? The Dark Sorcerers are the most mysterious existence in the Dark Parliament. They are simply divided into sorcerers and great sorcerers. Everyone's strength is unfathomable. Unless it is absolutely necessary, no one is willing to provoke the Dark Sorcerers. Since the Dark Council was so powerful, the Vatican would not be weak either. Qin Haodong asked, how about the Divine Court? How are their strengths divided? Lev said, the Divine Court used to be evenly matched with the Dark World. They have been fighting for many years, and no one gained the upper hand. But 10 years ago, the Divine Emperor suddenly obtained a holy treasure called God's Blessing. With the power of the holy treasure, he seriously injured the Vampire Queen. Since then, the Dark World has been suppressed to the point where they can't even lift their heads. Qin Haodong frowned slightly. The Vampire Prince had reached the Saint level, so the Vampire Queen should be at least at the late stage of the Saint realm, or even higher. This kind of strength was much more powerful than what he had now. It seemed that it would not be easy to conquer her. Lev continued, below the Emperor of the Divine Court is the Saintess, but after the death of the last Saintess, the new Saintess has not been elected. The strength of the Divine Court is mainly divided into priests and knights. Among the priests, there are 8 red-robed archpriests, and among the knights, there are 4 Saint Knights. Their cultivation is equivalent to the Vampire Prince and our Wolf King. After Lev's introduction, Qin Haodong had a preliminary understanding of the major forces in the Western world. He asked again, with the strength of a big werewolf, you should be very popular in any family. Why are you wandering alone? Lo said, in the Dark World, bloodlines are more important. Wild werewolves like me may be powerful, but they don't attach much importance to me. It could even be said that I'm ostracized. Garnet, the Wolf King of the 6 major werewolves, once told me that he wanted me to join his family. Unfortunately, he did not want to avenge me, so what's the point of me joining him? I'd rather drift alone, at least there's a chance of revenge. Speaking of this, he looked at Qin Haodong with hope and said, Mr. Qin, I know you are very strong, but you have not shown it. As long as you can help me kill the Red High Priest Anthony, my life is yours. We werewolves keep our promises, and we will never betray us. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, if I help you kill the Red High Priest Anthony, it will be equivalent to directly declaring war with the Divine Court. I have a lot of things to do now, so I can't do that. Just when Lev was extremely disappointed, he added, but I can help you improve your cultivation so that you can reach the level of the Wolf King. Then you can avenge yourself. Lev was overjoyed and said excitedly, if you can help me become the Wolf King, you will also be my master. Chapter 8:21. Qin Haodong said, as long as you listen to me, it won't be difficult to become a Wolf King. At this time, Chekhov, who had recovered from his injuries, ran over and knelt in front of Qin Haodong. Master, please help me improve my cultivation. This guy really knew how to take advantage of the situation and directly called Qin Haodong his master. Qin Haodong nodded. He didn't care about one more person. Since the trouble had been solved, he asked Tang Hu and the others to return to Chinatown first and then prepared to help the 2 werewolves improve their cultivation. He asked Lei Fu, do you have any cultivation methods before? Cultivation methods? Lei Fu said with a blank face, that's not something only you humans have. We werewolves rely on our bloodline to improve our strength. We don't need cultivation methods at all. Qin Haodong said, that's because you're ignorant. If there's a suitable cultivation method that can speed up the improvement of your bloodline, I have a set of serious physical training method that's suitable for werewolves. I'll teach it to you now. The 2 were overjoyed when they heard this. In the past, werewolves could only improve their cultivation by absorbing the moonlight over a long period of time. There was no shortcut. If there really was a cultivation method, surpassing others would be just around the corner. Both of you sit down and follow my instructions later. Lei Fu and Chekhov immediately sat down cross-legged as Qin Haodong said. They were not worried that he was lying to them. With his skills, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill them. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Qin Haodong set up a simple taiyin gathering formation around them. As soon as the formation was completed, the moonlight in the sky suddenly shone down like a real substance, shrouding Chekhov and Lei Fu. The power of the Dark World's creatures was based on the power of Yin in the moonlight. However, the moonlight was limited, and the power of Yin they could absorb was pitifully small. Now, through the taiyin gathering formation, the two suddenly obtained endless power of Yin. They suddenly felt so comfortable that they looked up to the sky and howled, wishing they could immediately transform. Don't move. Concentrate on following my instructions. After Qin Haodong said this, he flicked out a ball of warmth from his two fingers. It rose from the dantian of Chekhov and Lei Fu, and then slowly rose up, guiding the two to run according to the serious physical training method. Werewolves were single-minded creatures. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, the two of them immediately abandoned all distracting thoughts and followed Qin Haodong's guidance wholeheartedly. After the heavenly wolf body refining technique was activated, the originally extremely rich moonlight qi disappeared in an instant and was completely absorbed by the two of them. The extreme yin qi gathered by the extreme yin light gathering formation was endless, and the two of them were like two water pumps that had been activated, absorbing an endless amount of moonlight qi into their bodies. Although it had only been a few short minutes, the amount of yin power they had absorbed was probably more than what they had absorbed in the past few years. Qin Haodong stopped after running the heavenly wolf gymnastics for a full circle, and let the two of them run it automatically. Although Lo and Chekhov had not gone berserk, they had revealed their werewolf forms. With the absorption of the taiyin qi, Lo's originally pale golden wolf fur became more and more golden, while the short-haired Chekhov's fur grew longer and longer, finally showing a faint golden color. The improvement of the dark creature's strength was actually a process of upgrading their bloodlines. The continuous influx of taiyin qi quickly improved the bloodlines of these two werewolves. An hour later, Lo's wolf fur had completely turned golden. At this time, he raised his head and let out a long howl at the moon in the sky, and his entire aura suddenly rose to the peak. The Golden Wolf King has broken through to this level. Chekhov, who was next to him, did the same. After a howl, he advanced from a medium werewolf to a great werewolf. After completing this advancement, the two of them immediately jumped up from the ground and knelt before Qin Haodong again. I, Chekhov, swear to the Supreme Wolf God that from now on, I swear to follow Master until death, and never betray him. Qin Haodong waved his hand, and an invisible force lifted the two of them up. Lo's heart was filled with respect. Although he had reached the level of the Wolf King, in terms of strength, he was far less powerful than his master. My name is Qin Haodong, and I'm a doctor from Wuxia. You can call me boss from now on. Lo said eagerly, Boss, can I go and take revenge now? Qin Haodong said, Do you think you can kill the Red High Priest Anthony with your current strength? Well, there should be hope. Although Lo longed for revenge, he was still rational. He had just advanced to the Golden Wolf King level, but Anthony had been at the level of the High Priest for many years. Moreover, the divine power of the Divine Court had a suppressive effect on dark creatures like them. In this situation, he was definitely not a match for Anthony. What bullsh *t hope? If you act recklessly, you will only alert the enemy. If you fail, you will be hunted down by the Divine Court on a large scale. Will you still have a chance to take revenge in the future? Well, Lo knew that Qin Haodong's words made sense, and the flickering red light in his eyes slowly faded. Qin Haodong said, what you need to do now is to hurry up and improve your strength. It won't be too late to take revenge when you're strong enough. You've waited for so many years, so it doesn't matter if you wait a little longer. I guarantee that within 3 months, you will have the strength to kill Anthony. Now, Lo was full of respect for Qin Haodong, and he had no doubts about his words. If he had followed the speed of his cultivation just now, he would probably be strong enough to kill the Red High Priest in less than 3 months. But Master, although we've learned the Celestial Wolf training technique, without your help, I'm afraid our cultivation speed won't be as fast as before. Don't worry, I've already thought of a way for you. Qin Haodong said as he raised his hand and handed 2 jade pendants to them. I tailor-made these for the 2 of you. Carry them with you, and you'll be able to achieve the results of your cultivation just now. When the 2 of them had been cultivating just now, he had carved the Tai Yin energy gathering formation into the 2 jade pendants. Although it was a simplified version, the effect of condensing the Tai Yin Qi was still very impressive. Thank you, Master. The 2 of them were overjoyed. They reached out to take the jade pendants and put them on their waists. Suddenly, a cool power of the Tai Yin enveloped their bodies. Even if they did not deliberately run the Celestial Wolf training technique, the moonlight they absorbed was 100 times more than before. Now that your appearances have changed greatly, what you need to do is to hide your identity as a werewolf. Don't provoke the divine court until you have enough strength. Got it, boss. Now, Qin Haodong's words were like an imperial edict to the 2 of them, and they did not dare to disobey it in the slightest. I'm going to build a traditional Chinese medicine company in City End soon. In the future, you 2 will go there and manage it for me. Is that okay? Chekhov said, Boss, it's not a problem to manage the company. When I was in Europe, I used to be the CEO of a world-class multinational company, and my annual salary was millions of euros. But then I suddenly awakened and transformed and attracted the attention of the divine court, so I could no longer continue. Now both of us are wanted by the divine court. I'm afraid that we will cause trouble in the factory, Master. Lo also said, Yes, Master, we changed many countries when we were in Europe, but we were chased by the divine court and had nowhere to run. That's why we ran to M country and went to Chinatown to eat. If the damned knights of the divine court find us again, they will chase us here, which will cause trouble for Master. Qin Haodong said, Don't worry about that. I've just carved a stealth formation in your jade pendants. As long as you don't actively transform into werewolves, even the divine emperor will not be able to find out your true identity. Their appearances had changed greatly when they advanced. Lo's body had shrunk a lot, and his appearance had become more resolute. Chekhov, on the other hand, had become stronger than before, and was almost 2 meters tall. If they hid their werewolf aura, no one would be able to find out their identity. Great, thank you, Master. The 2 of them bowed to Qin Haodong again. All these years, they had been chased like dogs by the high priests and paladins of the divine court. Now they could finally settle down and did not have to wander around. Qin Haodong suddenly, his expression changed. He turned to the jungle next to him and said, Since you're here, why are you sneaking around? Why don't you come out and meet me? Lo and Chekhov immediately became alert. Their muscles tightened and they were ready to attack at any time. But after waiting for a while, there was no movement. Qin Haodong moved and instantly came to the jungle, but there was no sign of anyone. Lo and Chekhov also rushed over. After looking around, Chekhov said, There's no one, Master. Are you sure you saw wrong? Lo reprimanded him, Nonsense, how could Master be wrong? That guy must have run away. Qin Haodong said, Lo is right. He's a master and he's already gone. Chekhov immediately said nervously, Could it be someone from the divine court? If they hear our conversation, it will be impossible to hide our identity in the future. Lo shook his head and said, That's impossible. The people from the divine court want to tear us into pieces. It's impossible for them to escape. Besides, neither the paladins nor the high priests are good at speed. They can't run away silently. Chekhov said with a puzzled look, then who could it be? Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, it's probably for me. Don't worry about it. Go back and continue your cultivation. I'll contact you if anything happens. After exchanging contact information, Qin Haodong returned to Shiyumi's apartment. When he opened the door, the room was quiet. The lights in all the rooms were on, but Shiyumi was nowhere to be seen. He opened the bathroom door and saw Shiyumi soaking in the bathtub. Her long hair hung over her fair shoulders and her eyes were slightly closed. It seemed that she was asleep. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Shiyumi immediately opened her eyes vigilantly. She relaxed when she saw Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said, it's so late. Why are you still awake? Shiyumi said with a red face, I wanted to sleep with you when you came back, so I took a bath first. Maybe I'm too tired from running the clothing festival these days, so I fell asleep before I knew it. Qin Haodong said, the water in the bathtub is cold. Don't catch a cold. Go to sleep now. Then he turned around and was about to leave. Haodong, don't go. Shiyumi stopped him. What's the matter? Qin Haodong looked back and asked. I want you to carry me back to sleep. Shiyumi said coquettishly and stood up from the bathtub. The perfect scenery was exposed except for a few soap bubbles. Qin Haodong was stunned. The scene in front of him was too attractive. As the saying went, a beauty came out of the bath. Shiyumi was originally a very beautiful and charming woman. At this time, the water drops on her body made her look even more attractive. Looking at Qin Haodong, who was stunned, Shiyumi said charmingly, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and carry me. As she spoke, she opened her arms again. As she moved, the two graceful curves on her chest rose up and down, making Qin Haodong dizzy. Chapter 822. Qin Haodong felt hot all over. He quickly grabbed the bath towel next to him and wrapped it around Shiyumi's alluring body. Then, he picked her up by the waist and walked to the bedroom. Although the bath towel covered her private parts, her sexy collarbone and smooth and slender thighs were still in his sight. Coupled with the seductive touch on his arm and Shiyumi's seductive eyes, his heart still beat a little faster. Qin Haodong quickly walked to the bedroom and quickly pulled the quilt over Shiyumi's alluring body. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. However, Shiyumi obviously didn't want to settle down. She pulled her white arm out of the quilt again, took Qin Haodong's hand and said, medical sage, you seem to be very afraid of me. Are you afraid that I'll eat you? As she spoke, she pulled out the bath towel from under the quilt with her other hand and threw it to the bedside. Thinking of the beautiful naked scene under the quilt, Qin Haodong's heart was burning again. He said, go to sleep now. I'm going back to rest. No, I want you to sleep with me. Shiyumi was still holding Qin Haodong's arm and had no intention of letting go. But it's not appropriate, is it? What's wrong with it? It's not like you haven't slept with me before. Shiyumi said with a smile, you're so afraid of being with me. Is there something wrong with your body? Qin Haodong said a little awkwardly, of course not. I'm in good health. Then why do you always avoid me? Do you think I'm ugly? No, you're very beautiful, so I'm afraid of making mistakes. What's wrong with making mistakes? I just want you to make mistakes. Shiyumi said as she lifted the quilt. Then, she turned over and threw Qin Haodong on the bed. She looked at him seductively, and her plump chest was exposed to his sight again. From a man's point of view, an extremely beautiful woman like Shiyumi was indeed very tempting to him. But for some reason, he always felt uneasy at this moment. This woman was clearly naked in front of him, but he just couldn't see through her. Qin Haodong turned over and pressed Shiyumi under his body, but he didn't do anything. Instead, he casually pulled the quilt over and covered her body again. A trace of disappointment flashed across Shiyumi's face, and then she said in an aggrieved tone, "What on earth do you want? He's already taking the initiative, yet you still want to reject him?" Qin Haodong said, "I really think it's good for us to be friends." Shiyumi said pitifully, "But I don't want to. I want you to be my man. I've waited for so many years. I don't want to wait any longer." Qin Haodong said helplessly, "I don't think it's appropriate for us to do that kind of thing now. Let's wait for a while and think it over." Shiyumi sighed and said, "I have to leave for a few days tomorrow. I originally wanted to eat you tonight, but you really don't know how to flirt." Of course, Qin Haodong did not dare to continue this ambiguous topic. He said, "Aren't you attending the fashion exhibition? Why are you suddenly leaving?" Shiyumi said, "Although the fashion show has just begun, my clothes and models have all been displayed. All that's left is to wait for the selection results. I don't have much to do here. And I have something important to do. I can't wait any longer." Shiyumi did not tell him what it was, and Qin Haodong did not ask further. He asked, "How many days are you going to leave?" Shiyumi did not answer. She looked at him with watery eyes and said, "If I say I'll never come back, will you miss me? Will you regret that you didn't take me just now?" "Well," Qin Haodong said, "I don't know what hasn't happened. Maybe." Shiyumi reached out to touch his cheek and said affectionately, "Don't worry. As long as you're still here, I'll definitely come back. I guess I'll be away for 3 to 5 days this time. It won't be too long. You can stay here with me for the time being." "Okay, I guess I'll stay here for a few more days." After that, the two of them turned off the light and went to sleep. Qin Haodong wrapped Shiyumi in the quilt and they slept in each other's arms for the whole night. The next day, Shiyumi made breakfast for Qin Haodong as usual. After the two of them finished eating, she said goodbye and left. Qin Haodong was lying in bed alone, thinking about how to solve the approval of the pharmaceutical factory. At this time, the mobile phone on the bedside rang. He picked up the mobile phone and glanced at it. It was a strange number. After he picked it up, the charming voice of a tall woman came from the other side. "Qin, this is Jennifer. Where are you?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm in Shiyumi's apartment. What can I do for you? I know where you are. Let's talk when we meet." Jennifer hung up the phone directly. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw Jennifer standing at the door. She was dressed very sexily today. She only wore a black tube top, which covered most of her towering breasts, and a small part of them was exposed, which was very eye-catching. She was wearing a miniskirt that could not be any shorter, and it was just enough to wrap around her plump buttocks. Her long, slender, and fair legs were exposed to the air unscrupulously. Jennifer was originally a model. Later, she opened her own clothing studio, so her figure was naturally very good. "How is it? Do I look good?" As she spoke, she made a charming pose in front of Qin Haodong. Yes, very good. Miss Jennifer, please come in." Qin Haodong said as he led her into the living room and made another cup of coffee. Jennifer looked around and didn't see Shiyumi. She said, "Why don't I see Shiyumi? Did she go out, or did she sleep because she was too tired last night?" As she spoke, she winked at Qin Haodong, showing an expression that everyone knew what she meant. Qin Haodong said, "Shiyumi is not here. She has something important to do and needs to leave for a few days." Jennifer's eyes lit up. "Does that mean that there are only the two of us in the room now? Don't you want to do something? For example, try the taste of Western food." Seduction, this was blatant seduction. Qin Haodong swallowed his saliva and said, "Miss Jennifer, tell me what you want." "Qin, You really make me feel unconfident. Jennifer glared at Qin Haodong discontentedly and then said, here's the thing. My cousin is sick. I think your medical skills are amazing. Can you treat her? Oh. Hearing that it was treatment, Qin Haodong immediately relaxed a lot and said, of course, I'm a doctor. It's my duty to treat people. What's your cousin's disease? My cousin was diagnosed with breast cancer a week ago. Fortunately, it's only in the early stage. She has seen many doctors, but they all advised her to have it removed as soon as possible to prevent the cancer from spreading. Although this is the best treatment at present, every woman cares about her breasts, and my cousin is a breast model, a very popular kind. Once the surgery is done, her whole life will change, so my cousin is very resistant to the surgery and has delayed it until now. But she is afraid that the cancer will really spread, so she is very hesitant. After seeing your amazing medical skills the other day, I told my cousin about it. She also wants you to go over and touch her breast cancer. Qin Haodong was speechless. What did she mean by touch? She made him sound like a hooligan. Miss Jennifer, I'm using the massage technique of traditional Chinese medicine. Do you understand massage? It's not much different. It's all done by hand. Jennifer said indifferently, like my cousin's situation, are you sure you can cure it? Of course, it's not a difficult disease. Let your cousin come over. Qin Haodong said confidently. He didn't care about this kind of disease. Zhou Xinzhu's advanced breast cancer had been cured, let alone the early symptoms that had just been discovered. How will you treat it? Do you need surgery? No surgery. It won't affect her breasts or her career. That's great, Qin. I thank you for my cousin. When Jennifer heard that Qin Haodong could cure breast cancer without surgery, she said excitedly, I'll call my cousin now. Then she took out her mobile phone and made a call. A few minutes later, she hung up the phone. Qin, my cousin is very excited to hear the news, but my cousin-in-law's husband is the deputy director of the drug administration of N City. He just invited Dr. Owen, an oncologist from the World Medical Association, to treat my cousin, so it's not convenient for my cousin to leave. She wants to invite you over. Do you think that's okay? When he heard that the man on the other side was the deputy director of the drug administration, Qin Haodong was delighted. He had just dozed off and a pillow fell from the sky. Although the deputy director had no decision-making power, at least he could give him some advice. He nodded and said, okay. Great, let's go now. Jennifer took Qin Haodong's arm and they left the apartment together. There was a very luxurious villa on the outskirts of N City, which was the home of Jenny's cousin, Rolling. Inside the villa, a middle-aged doctor in a white coat was carefully reading the information in his hand. Dr. Owen, this is the latest test result. What do you think of my wife's condition? The person who spoke was a handsome young man. He was Rolling's husband, Fry, and also the deputy director of the drug administration of N City. A young woman stood opposite them. She was Rolling. Although she was not very beautiful, she had a good figure, especially her towering breasts. No wonder she was a breast model. Both the shape and the curve were perfect. Hearing Frey's question, Rolling also became nervous, hoping that Owen could give her a good result. But to her disappointment, Owen finished reading the examination data and said with a serious expression, Mr. Fry, Ms. Rolling, the disease is developing faster than we expected. Although it has only been a long time, the tumor has grown a lot and is on the verge of the middle stage. I suggest surgery immediately. If the tumor grows bigger and bigger, it will not only increase the difficulty of the surgery, but also increase the risk of cancer spreading. Fry said, Dr. Owen, you know that my wife is a breast model. This is very important to her. It not only affects her health, but also her career. Can't you think of another way? Owen shook his head and said, Fry, my friend, I can responsibly tell you that I'm definitely the most authoritative doctor in the world when it comes to tumors. If there was another way, I would have thought of it for you, but the current condition requires surgery. There is no other way to cure this tumor. If it is delayed, it will be life-threatening. A flash of disappointment and sadness flashed across Rowling's face, but she said, "My cousin Jennifer just called. She said that she found a doctor for me who can cure my breast cancer without surgery." "You can cure breast cancer without surgery?" Owen sneered. "Ms. Rowling, are you sure he is not a liar?" Chapter 823. Rowling said, "He can't be a liar. He's a very magical doctor. Jennifer has seen him treat people with her own eyes, and more than one." As the deputy director of the Drug Administration, Fry was also very good at medicine. He frowned and said, "Can tumors be treated without surgery? How does he do it?" Rowling said, "I heard from Jennifer that he has a very magical pair of hands of God. No matter what the disease is, he can cure it with a few touches." Hands of God? A few touches can cure a disease? Owen couldn't help laughing when he heard this. "Ms. Rowling, you're too naive. The person you met is not only a liar, but also a hooligan and a fraud. I've been a doctor for so many years, and I've never heard of a person who can cure a disease with a touch." Frey's face also darkened. Although people in M country were more open when it came to sex, it didn't mean that they could let others touch their wives casually. He said, "Rowling, you really can't believe that person. He's a liar. Listen to Dr. Owen and have the surgery as soon as possible." But Jennifer said that his medical skills are really good. "I want to try one last time. If it doesn't work, then I'll have the surgery." Rowling didn't believe that touching could cure diseases, but she believed that her cousin Jennifer wouldn't lie to her. At the same time, she wanted to give herself a hope. As a very successful breast model, she naturally didn't want to cut off her proud capital, nor did she want to lose her career. "I don't agree. Rowling, you can't do this. You're ignorant and conniving with bad people." Fry was trying to persuade his wife when the door opened and Jennifer came in with Qin Haodong. Seeing the handsome Qin Haodong following behind Jennifer, Fry immediately confirmed that he was the liar. He roared angrily, "Get out of here. You're not welcome here." Qin Haodong looked puzzled. He had just entered the door and was about to be kicked out. Fry looked as if he had molested his wife. What did this mean? Jennifer said, "Fry, what are you doing? This is the doctor I've invited for my sister." Fry said angrily, "Bullshit. He's a liar. He's a hooligan. Dr. Owen is an oncologist of the World Medical Association. He has just said that there is no other way to cure your cousin's disease except for surgery, so you have been cheated." As he spoke, he did not notice that Owen was already standing there with his mouth agape. Jennifer was not happy to see Fry being so rude. She said with a sullen face, "Fry, what's with your attitude? I've seen Dr. Qin's medical skills with my own eyes. It's really amazing. He's a very good Chinese medicine practitioner. Is he a liar like you said?" Chinese medicine. I have never heard that Chinese medicine can cure cancer." Fry seemed to feel that his words were not convincing, so he turned to Owen and said, "Dr. Owen, can you tell them if traditional Chinese medicine can cure diseases?" "Yes, of course. Traditional Chinese medicine is a very magical medical skill. Of course it can cure diseases." Owen came to his senses and ran to Qin Haodong with a flattering face. He stretched out his hands and said, "Dr. Qin, is that really you? I can't believe my eyes. I didn't expect to see you here. Welcome to M country. Did you hear that?" Dr. Owen said that traditional Chinese medicine is a very magical medical skill. Speaking of this, Fry realized that something was wrong. Things should not be like this. When he looked back and saw Owen's flattering face, he was suddenly confused. He had wanted to use Owen's identity as an expert of the World Medical Association to shock the two women in front of him, but he did not expect that Owen would stand on the other side. He had been friends with Owen for many years. He knew that this man had always been arrogant and had never taken other doctors seriously. But suddenly, he was respectful and enthusiastic to the young man in front of him. What was going on? At this time, Owen respectfully introduced Qin Haodong to Rowling. "Ms. Rowling, let me introduce you to Dr. Qin Haodong. He is the best doctor I have ever seen in my life. He has the title of medical sage in Wuxia. With his arrival, your disease will be cured. Your breast cancer can be cured without surgery." Fry said angrily, "Owen, what's the matter with you? Didn't you say that there is no way in this world to cure my wife's disease except for surgery? Didn't you just say that this man must be a liar? How did he become a very good doctor?" Owen spread out his hands and said, "Fry, my dear friend, there are exceptions to everything. Dr. Qin is the medical sage of Wuxia. He is the exception I mentioned. If someone can cure Ms. Rowling's disease without surgery, then only Mr. Qin can do it. You haven't seen his medical skills. They are really amazing." This time, it was Qin Haodong's turn to be confused. He said to Owen, who was full of excitement, "Sir, do you know me? Dr. Qin, have you forgotten that I went to Wuxia with President Alice some time ago and saw your amazing medical skills in the class with my own eyes?" Owen was one of the members of the delegation who went to Wuxia last time. At that time, he was completely awed by Qin Haodong's medical skills, but Qin Haodong did not pay much attention to him. Hearing Owen's words, Qin Haodong had a little impression of him. Seeing that Owen recognized the medical skills of the young man in front of her, Rowling immediately saw hope. She said excitedly, "Dr. Qin, can you really cure my disease?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course I can. It's not difficult for me." "That's great, that's great. I don't have to do an amputation." Rowling said excitedly to Fry and Owen, "You two men, get out quickly. I want Dr. Qin to treat me." Hearing this, Frey's sky darkened. Thinking of Qin Haodong's special treatment method, he always felt that there was a green halo above his head. But it was a treatment, and he could not refuse. At this time, Owen said, "Dr. Qin, I wonder if I can have the honor of watching you treat Ms. Rowling." "No." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Fry was the first to be angry. That Wuxia man was a doctor, so he really could not refuse. But Owen could not stay here. Even if he was a good brother, he could not see his woman's chest. Qin Haodong said in surprise, "I don't think it's a big deal. I use traditional Chinese medicine. There is no secret. Everyone can see it." Fry was even angrier. "You don't have to keep it a secret, but my wife will be seen by others." He cried, "No, you can touch it, but no one else can see it." Seeing her husband so angry, Rowling was a little embarrassed and said, "Dr. Qin, can I ask if it's through clothes? Or can you wear a pair of gloves?" Qin Haodong said in surprise, "It's fine through clothes, but if I wear gloves, it will affect my touch." He wanted to use acupuncture to treat Rowling's tumor. If he wore gloves, it would indeed affect the touch of the acupuncture, and it would also hinder the infusion of green wood genuine qi. But obviously, Fry did not think so. When he heard Qin Haodong said that it would affect his touch, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Rowling blushed and said, "Honey, don't think so much. Dr. Qin is also treating me." Looking at the two people's expressions, Qin Haodong came to his senses. He said, "Mr. Fry, you misunderstood. I treat Miss Rowling through acupuncture, not massage. I won't have too much physical contact with her, so you don't have to be jealous. And Miss Rowling doesn't need to take off her clothes, so it doesn't matter if Mr. Owen watches." Frey's jaw dropped. "Huh? Aren't you supposed to touch it with your hands?" "Of course not, I used this." Qin Haodong took out the needle bag and showed him the shiny silver needles. Although the tumor on Luo Lin's chest could also be eliminated by massage through green with genuine qi, that method was indeed a little inappropriate, especially in front of her husband. Although he was a little nervous when he saw the shiny silver needle, Fry was relieved. At least there was no green light on his head. Thinking of the misunderstanding just now, he said awkwardly, "Dr. Qin, it's not a big deal. I know that you doctors are treating patients. It doesn't matter what method you use. I can accept it." As a man, Qin Haodong knew what he was thinking. He smiled slightly and then said to Rolling, "Miss Rolling, please change into a set of light pajamas, so that it's convenient for me to use the needle." "Okay, Dr. Qin, please wait a moment." As Rolling spoke, she turned around and entered the bedroom. Soon, she came out wearing a set of relatively conservative pajamas. But pajamas were pajamas after all. They still looked a little thin and transparent. The perfect shape of her chest was set off. Under the gaze of several people, Qin Haodong took out the silver needles and pierced them into the acupoints on Rolling's chest one by one. At first, Luo Lin was very nervous when she saw these shiny silver needles. She even closed her eyes. But after waiting for a long time, there was no pain. When she opened her eyes, she found that more than a dozen silver needles had been pierced into her chest. With the experience of treating Zhou Xinju, everything went very quickly. After the green with genuine qi entered her body, it began to quickly eat away at the tumor in her chest and opened up the blocked meridians. About 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong took out the silver needles and said, "Ms. Rolling, your illness has been cured." "What? It's done so soon?" Everyone was shocked, including Owen, who had seen Qin Haodong's medical skills. Although he believed in Qin Haodong's medical skills, he couldn't believe that the tumor could be eliminated in such a short time. Rolling couldn't believe it was true. She was so excited that she couldn't care less about the others. She reached out and grabbed her chest. Just a moment ago, she could still clearly feel the lump inside. But now, there was nothing there. After trying several times in succession, she couldn't find the lump on both sides of her chest. Realizing that her illness had really been cured, she was so excited that she immediately burst into tears. She had been scared to death these days. Whether as a woman or a breast model, she didn't want her chest to be removed. Now, it was finally saved. "Thank you, Dr. Qin. Thank you so much." Rolling rushed up excitedly, gave Qin Haodong a hug, and kissed him hard on the cheek. Fry was also happy for his wife. Although he looked a little jealous, he still endured it. However, Qin Haodong felt the amazing elasticity of his chest and couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Fry stepped forward and said, "Dr. Qin, has my wife's illness been completely cured? Do I need any follow-up treatment?" Qin Haodong said, "No, Miss Rolling has completely recovered. If you feel worried, you can go to the hospital for a comprehensive examination. Don't worry, I believe in Dr. Qin's medical skills." After Rolling checked with her own hands, she completely believed in Qin Haodong. Fry said, "Dr. Qin, thank you for curing my wife. How much do you need for the consultation?" Chapter 824. Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Fry, forget about the consultation fee. I want you to do me a favor." Fray's face changed. Generally speaking, favors were the most difficult to return, especially for a person in a high position like him. He rarely agreed to other people's conditions. Qin Haodong knew what he was thinking and said, "Don't be nervous. It's not difficult. Even if you can't help me, I won't charge you a penny." Luo Lin said quickly, "Dr. Qin, you've helped us so much. Just tell us what you need. As long as we can do it, we will definitely help you." Here's the thing, Qin Haodong told them about his plan to build a traditional Chinese medicine factory in M country and then said, "The only medicine I want to produce is called the Blood Revival Elixir. Have you heard of it? This medicine can cure leukemia completely. It has been sold in China for several months and the effect is very good. There are many leukemia patients in the West, so I want to build a factory and sell medicine here. What I want Mr. Fry to do is to give me a suggestion on how to get the approval from the Drug Administration. Luo Lin said in surprise, "Can this medicine really cure leukemia completely? I have a friend who has been suffering from leukemia for many years. He has been in great pain and wanted to commit suicide many times. If you can really cure this disease, that would be great." Owen said, "I've heard of the blood revival elixir and I've done some research. It is indeed a medicine that can cure leukemia completely, but it hasn't been spread to the West yet." Jennifer said to Fry, "Brother-in-law, it's definitely a good thing that Dr. Chin wants to build a factory and sell medicine here. You must help him." Hearing that it was just a suggestion, Fry was relieved. However, he said with embarrassment, "To tell you the truth, if I were the director of the Drug Administration, I would directly approve it. It's a pity that I'm only a deputy and have no right to approve it. If you want to get the approval of the blood revival elixir, you need Director Ba Siting's approval." Qin Haodong said, "I've done some research before. Ba Siting is very resistant to traditional Chinese medicine and is very difficult to talk to. How can we make him accept the blood revival elixir?" Fry nodded and said, "You're right. Ba Siting is very resistant to traditional Chinese medicine. He is very upright and principled. Even if you ask the president of M country, he won't give you face. It's impossible for Ba Siting to approve the blood revival elixir to enter the M country market, unless..." At this point, he shook his head. "Forget it. It's impossible." Hearing that there was hope, Qin Haodong was moved. "Mr. Fry, please tell me how to persuade Ba Siting." Fry thought for a while and said, "Ba Siting got married very late. He had a son when he was old. He had a daughter, Angel. The child is very beautiful, just like a real angel. It was a pity that Angel suffered from autism. She was already 6 years old and had never come into contact with the outside world. She had never even called out to her parents. They've invited famous doctors all over the world to cure their child. It's a pity that autism is almost a terminal disease. It's too difficult to recover. After so many years, there's no sign of improvement. If you can cure Angel and prove the value of traditional Chinese medicine, I guess Ba Siting will accept the blood revival elixir. However, autism is a mental disease, and it's incurable. It's a bit difficult." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Jennifer said, "Brother-in-law, it's impossible to cure autism. Can you think of another way? For example, give Ba Siting some money?" Fry said, "That's impossible. Ba Siting and his wife, Kelly, don't love money. Since they knew there was no hope of curing their daughter, they donated their extra property to the children's fund. How could they accept your money?" Rowling said eagerly, "But the leukemia patients here really need the blood revival elixir." Fry said, "There's no way. I can't persuade Ba Siting." At this time, Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Fry, please take me to Mr. Ba Siting. I can cure his daughter's autism." After he said this, several people present opened their mouths wide in surprise. As for this kind of severe autism, it was impossible for them to do so. Owen said, "Dr. Qin, although your medical skills are excellent, you have to know that autism is a mental disease. It seems that traditional Chinese medicine is not good at this." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Who said that traditional Chinese medicine is not good at mental diseases? Please believe me, I have the ability." Fry said, "Mr. Qin, I can believe you, but Ba Siting won't. I heard that you are a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I'm afraid he won't even give you a chance to cure his daughter." Owen said, "It doesn't matter. We can all go there to testify for Dr. Qin." He was very excited. He had just seen Qin Haodong's acupuncture skills and now he wanted to see how the magical traditional Chinese medicine could cure autism. Rolling said, "Yes, I also want to testify for Dr. Qin. I know that my breast cancer has been cured. Then Ba Siteng will believe Dr. Qin. Well, let's go and have a try." Fry left his house with Qin Haodong and the others and drove to Ba Siteng's house. It was a small manor in the suburbs of N City. It didn't look very big, but the environment was excellent. It had red walls, green tiles, and lush vegetation. It was very beautiful. In the fenced yard, a beautiful young woman was trimming the flower bed. Next to her was a little girl who looked like an angel in a fairy tale. She was sitting on the lawn in the yard in a daze. The young woman looked at the little girl from time to time. Her eyes were full of love and sadness. Fry parked the car and went to the gate of the yard. "Miss Kelly, is Mr. Ba Siteng home?" The young woman was Ba Siteng's wife, Kelly. She looked up and saw Fry and Rolling. She smiled and opened the gate. "Long time no see. Welcome." Hearing that there were guests, a middle-aged man in his 40s came out of the room. He was Ba Siteng, the director of the drug administration, a man who looked a little old-fashioned. Ba Siteng was very familiar with Fry and his wife. He directly invited Qin Haodong and the others into the living room. Angel was still sitting outside. Although her big eyes were open, she didn't have the aura that a person of her age should have. She looked like a doll. After sitting down, Fry introduced Qin Haodong to Ba Siteng and his wife. Then he said, "Dr. Qin's medical skills are very good. He said he can cure Angel." Hearing that her daughter could be cured, Kelly immediately became excited. "Dr. Qin, can you really save my daughter?" Qin Haodong nodded. "Yes." Ba Siteng was not as excited as Kelly. He asked, "Dr. Qin, where are you a medical expert? Are you also an expert in psychiatry?" Qin Haodong said frankly, "I'm a Chinese medicine doctor." Chinese medicine doctor. Hearing that Qin Haodong was a Chinese medicine doctor, Ba Siteng's face immediately darkened. He said to Fry with dissatisfaction, "Mr. Fry, don't you know that I hate Chinese medicine the most? Chinese medicine doctors are all liars. How can you ask him to cure my daughter?" Fry looked a little embarrassed. But Ba Siteng's reaction was also within his expectation. He said, "Mr. Fry, you are prejudiced against Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is magical. Dr. Qin's medical skills are excellent." Luo Lin followed and said, "Yes, Mr. Ba Siteng. Dr. Qin just cured my breast cancer with his magical acupuncture. Chinese medicine is really magical. You can let him have a try on Angel. Curing breast cancer with acupuncture. Are you kidding me?" Ba Siteng sneered, "That's impossible. You must have been fooled by this guy." At this time, Owen stood up and said, "Mr. Ba Siteng, let me introduce myself. I'm Owen, an oncologist of the World Medical Association. You can say that Ms. Luo Lin doesn't have medical skills and was fooled. But I'm an oncologist. Dr. Qin did cure Ms. Luo Lin's disease. Besides, I went to Wuxia with President Alice last time and witnessed the magic of Dr. Qin's medical skills. You can let him have a try." Well, Ba Siteng couldn't find a reason to refute Owen's words. But his prejudice against Chinese medicine was deep in his bones. It was not easy to change it. "Mr. Fry, Mr. Owen, what you said may be true. Maybe Dr. Qin really cured Luo Lin's breast cancer. But so what? Angel has autism, which is a mental disease. It's completely different from physical diseases. I don't think Chinese medicine can cure mental diseases." Well, Ba Siteng's words made Owen and the others speechless. Although they believed in Qin Haodong's medical skills, they had never seen a case of mental illness treated by Chinese medicine. So they didn't dare to speak casually. Qin Haodong was not anxious. He said with a smile, "Mr. Ba Siteng, you may not know me well. I developed the blood revival elixir. It can cure leukemia completely. It has been fully proved in Wuxia in recent months. I came to M country to build a factory to produce the blood revival elixir, so that leukemia patients in the West can be relieved. Kelly, who had been silent, grabbed Ba Si-ting's arm and cried excitedly, "Honey, Dr. Chin can cure cancer and leukemia. I think we can let him have a try for Angel." But Ba Si-ting still said stubbornly, "So what? Leukemia is also a physical disease. It's completely different from a mental disease like autism. Chinese medicine can't work at all." Qin Haodong looked at the stubborn Ba Si-ting. He took out a bank card from his pocket and said, "How about we make a bet? There are $300 million in this card. If I can't cure Angel, the money is yours. If I cure Angel, please believe in Chinese medicine from now on and allow me to build a factory in N City to produce the blood revival elixir. You've finally revealed your fox tail, haven't you? So you're doing this just to get me to approve you." Ba Si-ting said gloomily, "I won't allow Chinese medicine to enter M country's market, and I won't bet my daughter's health with you." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Mr. Ba Si-ting, do you think your stubbornness is principled and righteous? Because of your stubbornness, so many leukemia patients have to suffer. Because of your stubbornness, your daughter will be like a rag doll, sitting there without knowing anything. She won't be able to experience the wonders of the world at all. I do want the blood revival elixir to enter M country's market, but so what? My medicine is really effective and can cure leukemia completely. If I'm rejected by you, it will be a loss for all leukemia patients in M country." You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.